Do an image on it, because then that's... You need to add one if that's the case.
Oh, I had it.
Okay, first of all...
Actually,
There's a lot of bad Cuphead.
I've seen a lot of bad shit, but I've seen a lot of really good shit from like the good level design from the Cuphead fandom.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't paid that much attention.
Oh no, the fandom for Cuphead is fan-fucking-tastic.
Yeah, they made a good rap video. Did I send it to you guys? I thought I did. Like, they liked the song enough that they made 3D models just for it, too.
That's very possible. There are some people who will do anything
Sounds
for that.
good.
Okay, so get your booty over here and let's get this thing started.
Okay, we should probably have something up in case people do comment, just so we can respond. Or we can just do it through the app, like whichever.
Please.
I will do it through my laptop here since I'm going to have this in my lap anyway.
And you can also share it to the Facebook page that way.
Do the hustle.
And we're off to a great start. Alright.
Yay.
So hello everybody.
Hello!
And welcome to our pre-E3 live stream podcast. We were originally going to do this. We were going to originally do this with camera, but I'm incompetent. So
that's not the only reason.
Camera, dude. We don't need that.
So with us today is obviously me, Tony, Emily,
Hi!
Jimmy,
Hoi.
and our very good friend Walter.
Hello.
Wally Walter!
So we're going to be here just chatting up, talking about what's coming out at E3. We're going to open the table up to you guys first. I want to see if there's anything you want to talk about first. I've got a list of all the stuff we know is coming to E3, each of the different conferences. But is there anything you guys specifically wanted to see at the show before we get things rolling?
So we're talking about things that are not confirmed or things that we hope to see?
Whatever you want. Like if it's confirmed, awesome. If it's not, we'll dissect it and just see just how likely it might be.
I want an Animal Crossing game. I want an Animal Crossing game for the Switch.
that might actually happen. There's no confirmation just yet, but yeah,
It would really not surprise me if it did, because it's one of their bigger franchises.
Like,
so.
yeah, it has an app at this point.
Yeah.
But there hasn't really been a true
Official.
blue game since New Leaf, really.
Yeah, and it's been a while since New Leaf, so...
Yeah. I'm just getting everything set up here, so... we will have the chat open, so if you are watching right now and you want to say something, by all means, let us know if there's something you want to see at the show. We're going to get into this pretty soon here, but...
we will discuss it with you.
Yeah. We want to know what you want to see, because we're here, we're excited. We just want to talk about video games. That's what we're doing this for.
Yeah. So yes, I want a Animal Crossing game. And I kind of want it to be a lot like Happy Home Designer, with the amount of control that you had over everything. Yeah. And the part where you can put inside furniture outside and outside furniture inside. And like decorate a lawn the way that you could in Happy Home Designer. I don't know how many of you actually played Happy Home Designer, now that I think about it.
Was that on the 3DS?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Happy Home Designer was basically take the Animal Crossing New Leaf game, take out the actual living part.
Yeah.
It's literally just making a home using preset items, and then you can also decorate the yard using those same preset items.
So super up my alley.
I would be okay with it as long as they had the actual living part of it.
Right. Like, I'm not saying just Happy Home Designer. I'm just saying that mechanic from it.
She's saying take what they did with Happy Home Designer, put that in New Leaf, give it a new twist or a new look, and make that the new Animal Crossing game.
Well, and they kind of have done that in the app, so I don't see why they wouldn't in the new game if they decide to make a new game.
Well, if we're going to go with Nintendo, they're going to be coming out with... let's just start with Nintendo, since they were the last on my list here because they're the last one going.
They always win E3, though.
But if we're going to keep going with Nintendo, we've got the Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee.
Yeah, so I'm actually super excited for this.
So that's for the Switch, right?
That's coming for the Switch.
Okay.
But it basically takes elements from Pokemon Go and makes it into a Switch
and
game.
Connected to an extent.
And Hey You Pikachu to an extent. But they've also been talking about the 2019 Pokemon RPG.
Okay,
yes.
This one is basically Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu is basically just going to be Pokemon Go on the Switch with some added features.
A little bit more than that.
Mostly.
I would almost argue, though, that this is actually going to be set after Red, Green, Blue.
Well,
and
regardless of when it takes place, they have said multiple times that this is for starters.
Yeah.
This is not for people who are, like,
and
way invested in the Pokemon.
Super... Like, I think that they might actually remove gyms from the play.
Basically, the only thing that you're really going to be able to do is catch the Pokemon. There's no fighting them to catch them anymore. And battle against trainers.
Mm-hmm. But also, one Pokemon can follow you around just like they did in the Diamond and Pearl generation. They're so cute!
But by that same notion, the RPG one that's coming out in 2019 is going to be a full-fledged, like, classic Pokemon game.
Okay.
And we might get a little bit more at E3 about this.
Maybe.
They're
usually tight-lipped until, like, the year of that.
Yeah. Well, they announced it last year. That's the thing. They officially said they're making Pokemon games last year at E3. Yeah. So maybe we'll get something. We might not get something...
People excited.
Might not get something big. But... It'll maybe be just a teaser like, confirmed, Gen 8 or something.
One thing they're one thing per month bullshit that they normally do.
The only thing they've confirmed thus far is it is a much more hardcore version of the Pokemon games.
Ooh, yay.
In terms of, like, you being you actually have to play
Nuzlocke
around
mode.
and
Nuzlocke mode.
No. It's going to be basically that.
Yes.
But it's Let's Go
Destroy
Pikachu.
Hearts, destroy minds.
Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee are going to be for beginners. The one coming out next year is going to be for true fans, if you will.
Destroy us all.
But that actually goes into what I was going to say with Animal Crossing. Like, Happy Home Designer and all of that getting put into the mobile camp game, that's like the Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu. But then we'll get a real hardcore Animal Crossing sometime in the future. Like
hardcore Animal Crossing.
It's getting serious,
okay.
Animal Crossing's only for the hardest.
Nuzlocke Animal Crossing. You don't bring them their furniture, they die.
No, that's a franchise that needs to go into the Mad Max universe. No more building.
You live in a desert,
we
so
need
finding
water.
supplies
That's all.
is
Yeah.
just awful.
Tom Nook literally tries to kill you.
Where's my money? Where's my caps?
Bitch better have my money.
Okay, Fallout, new Animal.
Animal Crossing Furry Road, dude.
Furry Road, there you go.
I'm just imagining what Deathclaw looks like in Animal Crossing now, and it's really cute.
I'm sure someone has made it.
Oh, I'm 100% sure. I'm pretty sure I've seen Piper as like a lab, so.
But to go off of Nintendo still, the other 3 games that I know for sure, well, one of them is sort of a most likely going to show up. The other 2 are for sure from Nintendo. The one that most likely will show up in their presentation is Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, otherwise known as Monster Hunter Double Cross in Japan. It's basically a new Monster Hunter game coming for the Switch.
Don't double cross the monsters.
That basically
kind of need to be double crossed.
It basically makes it look like they're taking the Monster Hunter monsters, mixing them with robot dinosaurs, and just
we're getting the Monster Hunter version of Digimon, and it's great.
Exactly. Yeah. Well,
that'll get people to play.
I was thinking Mechazords. I was thinking Mechazords actually, but yeah.
Zoids.
Zoids. There you go.
That'll just add on to why I love the game. Okay.
I love Zoids.
Yeah, that sounds like it could be a lot of fun. But the 2 that I'm most enjoyed for is continued support for Splatoon 2. They're going to have a tournament there, and they're going to talk about some more stuff with that. But probably the one I think we all really want out of this, Smash Bros.
Yeah.
Smash.
They're going to have a tournament at the show with
Smash.
I think it's random.
It'll all be Sonic.
I think it's random people. I can't remember if it's random people or pros or what they're doing with it, but they're going to have a tournament at the show where they're going to show off the game.
Nice.
And they're going to give us details and stuff about it for like when it comes out later this year. So, that's pretty neat.
You're pretty neat.
This year. Holy shit.
To plug our channel a little bit, we have a bit of a wish list.
I like how you're saying plug our channel as though we're not broadcasting this on our channel.
Well, yeah, but...
It's like including an ad for Pokemon in a Pokemon game.
Not everyone watching is familiar with us, so we have to make them familiar with us.
I don't know that they want to know us.
No.
They do. We're here all day, baby.
But before we get into like some potential predictions about what's coming, anything you guys want to add about what's already been confirmed, or because those are the 4 that I know for sure are going to be at the show.
Are we still discussing Nintendo specifically?
Just Nintendo specifically right now. So we have Super Smash Brothers.
I still want Ganon in a Metallica shirt.
What?
Did you not know about that? That was one of the original ideas for Breath of the Wild. It was going to be set in a modern day era.
Oh right.
Awesome.
You're just like, this is the first time I've heard of this.
This is the first time I've heard about this.
I don't remember the exact thing, but...
You know, I actually was going to do a fan fiction where Ganondorf had adjusted his definition of what power was and become more of like a kingpin type business dude.
Well, he's a business dude that likes Metallica, apparently.
It was set in the Wind Waker universe.
Casual.
And
he has a business suit.
There you go.
Basically, Tetra was Princess Zelda, because of course, and she was like fucking with all of Ganondorf's business plans, because Ganondorf was being totes evil in his business plans. And then because I'm a huge Zelgan shipper, they fucked. And that's the story.
So getting back to E3.
Again, Nintendo. Come on, Nintendo.
Getting back to E3 though, we pretty much are guaranteed to get Breath of the Wild skins and stuff at least for Smash Bros.
Right.
They showed that off in the teaser trailer.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
with Breath of the Wild Link. So I assume we're gonna get probably Breath of the Wild Zelda, and maybe something with Calamity Ganon.
Maybe that'd be the
like
ultimate.
It if they had
Final Smash?
not even not necessarily a final smash, but maybe an assist even, where it's just like.
Fuck this
how
shit.
How does that go? Okay, just making
sound of flame. It's the sound of a forest.
It's the sound of destruction, bitch.
One of the other things that
last time you ever want to hear.
One of the other things people thought was happening with the trailer for Smash, if you look at the if you actually look at the trailer, they obscure the top of Mario's hat. So some people think some people think that he's gonna have Cappy from the new Odyssey game.
I'd be down for that.
And I'd be down for that too. Like you have a whole slew of new moves for him then.
Yeah.
Mario's the one character who really hasn't had much of a change. Mm-hmm. Like introducing the Flood into his moveset from Sunshine. That was the biggest change they had to him, really.
Yeah.
Other than making him Dr. Mario, but that's a whole separate thing.
I am Dr. Mario.
I think it'd be cool if that was like more of a customizable thing.
Oh yeah.
With Mario, you have so many different takes on that, where you can have so many different costumes. It would be cool to see them expand the customization in that game, because the fourth one or whatever, it was okay. I don't think that's a spot where people spend a lot of time in, but I think.
Well, it didn't really have too much customization. Like, the most customization they had was with the Miis. Yeah. Like, with your Mii fighters or your custom amiibo fighters or whatever, that was mostly what you got. Otherwise, it was just 8 different color palettes, essentially. Mm-hmm. So that would be kind of nice to have.
If we're, like, doing a throwback Thursday to when we did our top 10 predictions or wish list.
Yeah.
I really want the Harvest Moon Farmer. I would love that so
honestly,
much.
I would too.
Yeah, just because they should have a goddamn Harvest Moon kit.
Yeah, honestly, at this point, looking forward, I think our list has a lot of potentials. A lot of people have been saying Simon Belmont from Castlevania.
Oh yeah, definitely, especially since the Netflix series has taken on such a popularity.
They might actually do a skin related to that too, which would be kind of fun. Yes. I could honestly see Springman or Ribbon Girl.
Yeah, I think they're...
The only problem with that is Arms kind of faded into obscurity.
Which is really sad, because it was really fun,
yeah,
to be honest.
they basically stopped development a year in.
Yeah.
Which leads me to either believe they are making a sequel.
Yeah.
Or it didn't have quite the spunk that they needed it to. You know?
I'm hoping it's the first one, to be honest.
I hope it's the first one, but I feel like it might be the second one, just because people don't really talk about it that much.
But the one that I think everyone wants is Shovel Knight. Like, most people...
That's my feelings, too.
But I'm not saying in this room. Yeah. I'm saying, like, most people want Shovel Knight. He's been, like... They've been campaigning for Shovel Knight since the last game.
I still want Spyro or Crash before they do something like that. I know those are more
I know
PlayStation
that's a really far
characters.
shot, but
Yeah. It's like they have all the mascot characters from different generations at this point. Like, they need to give those PlayStation characters some love.
Well, the only difference really is, like, with Pac-Man and Mega Man being in Smash 4, they
Yeah.
were at least on Nintendo consoles.
mm-hmm.
It wasn't until, like, the PS2,
Now, if we had a
PS3 era...
PlayStation All-Stars again, then
Well, we'll get to that when we get to Sony,
Ooh.
but...
Because they've talked about that. Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, anything else related to Splatoon 2, Monster Hunter, Pokemon, or Smash?
I'm just really
Oh,
excited
gosh.
for Pokemon to follow you around again.
yeah,
Like,
same.
I loved that mechanic so much.
Like, even if it's not the most hardcore of games, I am really excited for that. I
Yeah.
just think it's a really cute idea, and the fact that you can play with your friends on a Pokemon game, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually
And,
something I'm a little confused on. Because in the
Yes.
trailer, they show the two friends catching a Clefairy, right?
Yeah.
Who keeps the Clefairy?
The Clefairy.
Is it split in two?
We're going King Solomon on this shit.
Yeah.
Like, do they split it in half? Do they just share it? Like, I get it on Thursdays through Mondays, and you get it on Tuesdays through
Split
Thursdays?
custody.
Divorce court was Pokemon.
It's only a Clefairy. They
Pokemon
can
got a
split that,
divorce
yeah.
court.
It's you or me.
I'm
you know
hoping-
it's my destiny.
I'm hoping they give us at least a little bit more info on it. Like, it might not be for the hardcore people, but I'm still interested. I still
Yeah.
want to play it.
I think Pokemon's fun when it's not trying to be
I honestly
hardcore.
Pokemon
like
the home
Pokemon for
console,
some of
so.
the weirder storylines.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely interested at the very least.
Okay. Walter,
Pokemon.
thoughts? You're a little quiet over there.
I don't know. I'm good.
Okay. So,
Walter's just chill right now.
in terms of what could potentially show up that isn't confirmed, we already talked about the 2019 Pokemon, and we already kind of talked about Animal Crossing.
Okay.
This was kind of under the radar, and not a lot of people noticed it, but they did confirm that they're making a new Mario Kart for the Switch. Not Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, not another one of those, but they are making, it's actually titled, working title, Mario Kart Switch. They haven't said anything outside of it's in development, so it probably won't come until, like, next year at the earliest.
But it's
It
still
could
there.
be kind of nice to see, like, an official, like, large screen confirmation at E3. Because, like I said, it was
Like a
very
logo
under
or
the
something.
radar. I think it was, like,
Covert.
the Nintendo president posted an image on Twitter, and that was it. I didn't see any of the news outlets cover it. So I may just be having a fever dream here.
It's entirely possible. You've been known to
Or
have
you
those.
could
I
have
do.
seen something on Tumblr and it was like a
No,
shop
this
thing.
this was Twitter.
Oh, you definitely saw it on
This
Twitter?
was Twitter. I saw it on...
Mario Kart Fever Dream.
That's a great band name.
I had a Mario Kart fever dream once.
That's Rainbow Road, dude.
Do
no, wait,
tell.
no. I think it was Zach who had the fever dream. See, he was driving on Rainbow Road, and I think he was asking where he could get more fudge.
There's never enough.
I think there's a
Rainbow
zebra
Road.
there. I think a zebra was there. I need to ask Zach about his Mario Kart dream.
Okay, so going off of Mario Kart now. Yoshi.
Yoshi!
Yoshi's getting a new game.
Okay.
You know what? I'm okay with that.
They've
I'm like,
they've already
Yoshi needs some more love.
I think they confirmed it at last year's E3 or at some other Nintendo Direct or something like that. But it's like a side-scrolling Yoshi game.
Okay, less
Is it
enthused.
gonna have- Oh, okay.
I just think that Yoshi, if anything, would be interesting. Like Yoshi Island, where it was a little more free roaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Yoshi's story more, personally.
I grew up with Yoshi Island, okay? But it's just like, I feel like it would be interesting to have a Yoshi game where he's more free roaming rather than
That would be
constantly
fun, yeah.
side-scrolling. Because it's not anything against side-scrolling games, it's just...
Yeah, at this point they kind of done
Yeah.
side-scrolling Yoshi's to death.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it wouldn't surprise me if they kept doing that, because
They probably
the
'Cause
I
money.
think Yoshi's Woolly World was 3D.
Mm-hmm.
That one didn't
Right.
didn't do too bad,
I love
but it's
Yoshi's
full-
Woolly
but
World.
it was
See
still
people
mostly
today.
side-scrolling.
will. Right.
So I don't
I
know.
love the aesthetic of
Nintendo-
Yoshi's Woolly World. It's so cute.
Star Fox racing game.
Oh,
Eh.
Okay.
there's been rumors going around really recently for like a sort of F-Zero style Star Fox game.
And just make F-Zero sequel.
Exactly.
I'm still waiting for that. Since the GameCube, they haven't made one.
Right. And that's kind of my thought on it too. Like, if this is really true, why not just make F-Zero? At the very least, if they're gonna make a Star Fox F-Zero style game, make Captain Falcon playable.
Yo,
It'll be DLC.
Because like the only thing he's in these days is Smash Brothers.
Right.
And that's just because he was part of the original roster and basically is just has to be.
He's a Falcon Punch his way onto
He's also one of their best characters, I would argue.
He is one of their best characters. But they've kind of just have this thing where it's like, okay, the original roster stays. Who the hell else can we throw in?
Yeah, and I guess F-Zero doesn't get that name recognition anymore. People still love Star Fox.
Yeah.
If we're on the subject of Smash characters who we haven't had a game from in a while, there's also Earthbound.
And there is a rumor of that, actually.
Oh, really?
That we might be getting a... I saw this just yesterday. I don't have it in my notes here as a result.
Earthbound is my greatest shame.
Not just Earthbound coming, but Earthbound 2 and 3 coming to the US, remastered.
Okay.
Nice.
Before you judge me, I had a chance to get an original 64 Earthbound for $100. It is at the very least, damage box and everything, $500.
I need to find something sharp to throw at you now.
Don't you dare! I got a chair.
Please don't break our living room.
I make no promise.
No, we're gonna do that with VR tomorrow. But yeah, I think I saw this. I can look it up real quick to be sure, but I think I saw something related to Earthbound coming to E3. Again, just rumor. No confirmation. Confirmation. Then the last thing I have on my list for predictions, at least what I think will show up, Metroid Prime 4. They teased that at last year's E3. 4 is not a prime number. They teased it at last year's E3 that it's the next Metroid Prime game. I don't remember if they said who's making it, but it's not Retro Studios.
Okay.
And all we got was a splash screen with the title Metroid Prime 4. So they might show us like a teaser or something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Might get a little bit of something in there, but I don't think we're going to get like big announcement of like, hey, it's coming out next month or anything like that.
It's out right now.
No, that's going to be Bethesda, and we'll get to that in a minute.
To be fair, Nintendo has pulled that. They did that with the New Leaf update, where they're like, oh, we have a new camping update, and it's live right now.
Well, that's different. That's an update to a game. This is a brand new game dropping immediately. And the only way they could really do it in this day and age is like a digital version, and then like the physical copy comes out 2 months later. Because then you'd have people like GameStop leaking it. Because that's how half these leaks happened. Was Walmart, GameStop, and stuff like that posting SKUs up, and people being like, "Holy fuck, is this real?"
Yeah. The only way I could see this new Metroid working is if it has a really intense online multiplayer.
The only way I can see it working is if they don't other Emmett.
Yeah, that's why I was like,
Well, I heard the combat in that is super good. It's just the story.
Literally everything else is terrible.
Right.
Even just controlling the character was bad.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
At least in my opinion.
Oh man, I was never really big on the Metroid series.
Yeah.
So that's what I got for Nintendo. Anything else you guys think might show up or that you would want to see? Because again, this
honestly,
is just
I would love if they added something to the vein of Castlevania.
Like a new Castlevania or well, if
you said the vein of Vania, so
if the room
Castlevania.
Yeah, but you said in the vein of Vania, so that's why I was trying to make a joke.
The thing is with
you said the thing.
Let her get her punch.
The thing with Castlevania, it's Konami that owns it. And
that's just another word for Nintendo.
And we'll get a little bit more into Konami when we move to Sony, but
It's supposed to be water.
This is not water. This is mead.
That's
okay. I was super concerned. I was like, "What's wrong with our water?"
Oh my god!
It's like, Jimmy, stop drinking that water. It's yellow.
Jimmy has decided to fully embrace 127 hours.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt for something no one else can see, but I was really concerned for a second.
But yeah,
expecting me to drink
Chugging
water
that.
when I have alcohol just beyond the corner.
But yeah, because Castlevania is technically owned by Konami, we might get a Square Enix, or not Square Enix, Smash Brothers
Yeah.
entry, and
But
maybe
otherwise,
a new Castlevania game, but it probably wouldn't be Nintendo exclusive. It would
No.
most likely be kind of like how Lords of Shadow,
yeah.
those games came out, they weren't even on Nintendo consoles.
Yeah.
So, we'll have to wait and see on that. So, other than Animal Crossing, anything you're looking for him?
Nope, just those funny little animals.
Okay, Walter. Anything
Okay.
you would want other than F-Zero, I guess, or a Mad
No,
Max
let's talk
game?
more about F-Zero. It's been like 15 fucking years. since they've done that. And with this new Star Fox game, I'm actually really excited for that. I hope there's a good combat mode that goes with that. I think that'd be more of the selling point
Yeah.
than like racing. Because you have all sorts of vehicles. Like, they had Star Fox Assault, and they had different multiplayer modes with that. If they could like beef that up, make that more fun, or just make it playable, it wasn't really playable in the first place.
Mhm. No, like, the reason I think that the Star Fox one holds a little bit more than like a new F-Zero game is because of the Star Fox Wii U game. They clearly went into that and said like, okay, we need to make this good Star Fox game.
Wasn't
Maybe as like a template for something else.
Okay.
Because what we got felt a lot like a demo. A
okay.
very extended demo.
but
but
a
a
demo,
demo.
all the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I heard it was just N64 Star Fox.
The $5
Like,
pack-in game, Star Fox Guard, where you're just basically doing tower defense with cameras, was more fun than the actual Star Fox game.
Yeah,
Let's
they
just put
need
it
to
that
add
way.
more to that.
Let me just put it to you
formula, I
that
think.
way.
It's a travesty.
I mean, Star Fox Racing is kind of making me think of that Jack and Daxter racing
Yeah,
game.
Sam.
Oh, Jack
That's-
X Combat Racing?
That is
Yeah.
what I was thinking. They could make that good.
Hey, I like Jack X. It's terrible, but I like it.
It's a great concept. Like,
It's a good concept.
But in actual
Yeah.
practice, it's like
Yeah.
Poor
yeah.
execution.
Like, I just want to play as Peppy the Hare in like a battle tank, dude, or
Yeah.
something like that.
Make it like Conker's Bad Fur Days battle mode. You remember that?
Okay.
Where you're
But-
where you're in tanks or whatever.
Yeah.
But make it Star Fox instead of Conker. Hell, throw Conker in there too. Why not?
why not?
Yeah. Get the rights back, Nintendo. Get Rare back.
Well,
Yeah.
Microsoft sure as hell ain't doing anything with them.
And that is also a travesty. Holy shit.
All right. So anything else for Nintendo? I guess. Otherwise, I think we
See, I
can
mean, there's-
probably move on.
I mean, there's nothing even remotely indicating this, but it would be fun to have another Pikmin game.
Yeah. That would be
I think Miyamoto said a little while back they were making a new one.
Oh,
fun.
really?
Okay.
I think so. And I can look it up again, like I said, but I don't know for sure. I feel like I remember reading somewhere that Miyamoto said they're making Pikmin 4. I feel like that's true. I don't know for sure though.
You see so many things on the internet. How can you know what's true?
Exactly. The internet lies to me every day.
I mean, that'll come out eventually. For sure.
Hey, I tell you I love you on the internet.
The internet lies to me every day.
Yes.
Ooh.
I didn't say you're the
Ow.
internet.
That was my Tom.
I'm aware. So yeah, if there's nothing else for Nintendo other than Pikmin or
Sure, we'll think of a bunch of things.
well, we can go back to it if we need to. I'm just trying to get this moving along.
Right.
Yeah.
So which conference would you want to start with next? Do you want to go because Nintendo technically is the last conference we're going to be getting.
Okay.
We could go just in reverse order. We could.
I
just...
would love to go in reverse order just to be like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Do that.
Next up is Sony then.
Okay, what do they
And
have?
for
Sony
Sony.
currently has this weird thing they're doing where they have a string of pre-E3 announcements.
Huh.
They had one 2 days ago where they announced a sort of psychedelic Tetris game that has VR support.
Huh.
Tetris 3D did not do well, y'all.
And then they announced yesterday
Bringing it back.
Days Gone. The Sons of Anarchy meets Walking Dead zombie game
Hopefully that's awesome.
has a release date of February
I would
22nd.
argue that even the Walking Dead game that they're coming out
Oh,
with
kind
it
of.
does look really, really
Yeah.
good. It almost looks like Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
To an extent, just Walking Dead style,
Mm.
which I appreciate. So
Yeah, this is basically... I actually just got the Game Informer article about this, but Days Gone is you are a biker bro in a world that has embraced bikes because they're easier to maneuver around.
Yeah.
Oh.
And the zombies can come in hordes.
Okay.
And not like Left 4 Dead hordes where they just bum rush you,
Yeah.
but hordes that look like they're flowing water.
Oh, that's kinda
Toppling
cool.
over each other and going
like that
everywhere.
Brad Pitt movie.
Yeah. That's what I was
Yes,
thinking.
like the terrible adaptation of the book.
It
The
really
book
was
is
bad.
called
It was terrible.
The Brad Pitt movie.
Speaking of Brad Pitt movies, Deadpool 2.
Watch it. Oh, that's a huge spoiler right there, Tony. He's back. He's
movie-
finally
The
back.
movie has been out for 3 weeks at this point. Shut up.
There's gonna be
computer.
one person complaining right now, dude.
I
Have
think
you not seen Deadpool 2 yet, dude?
Oh,
he
I've
has.
seen
Oh, okay.
it. I would. I
Um,
wouldn't complain.
So,
I was gonna be
Either
like, we
way-
gotta go.
aside
I'd be
from,
down for
I don't know what
watching
they
it.
announced today. I haven't actually looked into it. It's probably another game. I think it was a VR title. Whatever. The 4 games that they announced ahead of time that they were going to talk about, and then there's one more they're going to talk about that they announced a little bit later, were Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding, Spider-Man, and The Last of Us Part 2.
I'm ready for Death
Ooh.
Stranding.
I'm
That
also ready for
weird
Death Stranding.
That
Yeah,
weird
well,
motherfucking
I
game
really-
that
yeah, I
I'm
wanna
ready
play
for.
it.
I don't think it's gonna be a game. I think they're just gonna.
It's gonna be a VR experience. Where
I
you
think
That
just
would be
sit
awesome.
there.
He is the best.
weird
friend
thing
You
of
play
about
as
it-
Mads
ever.
Mikkelsen.
The weird thing about it with Death Stranding, they showed it at the Paris Games Week in December.
Mm-hmm.
They showed like a little other trailer or whatever. They had one of the head executives up there talking about it. I don't remember which one. And he basically sat there and openly admitted, this is about 5 hours into the game. I have played the game to this point, and I finally understand what all of this is. None of you
shit.
will understand it.
Yeah.
I barely understand it.
Oh.
And it took me 5
Challenge
hours to
accepted.
get to where I am.
Kojima, take me.
Exactly.
Kojima, take
Like,
me
me
away.
personally, I am not a huge Metal Gear fan,
Yeah.
but I am in love with Kojima.
Yes.
Everything that he's done has been fantastic.
His friendship with Mads Mikkelsen brings me so much joy.
It is amazing.
And just Del Toro,
But
too.
probably-
Del
Yes.
Toro's in the game with a weird
Probably
baby.
the biggest tragedy, though, with Death Stranding
Mhm.
is we're getting this instead of Silent Hills.
Ultimately,
okay.
yes. But on the other hand, I feel like him as a game developer knows
Once.
what he's doing.
Yeah.
Or-
Yeah.
But there was
Yeah,
that
you-
there was that period of time where it's like Konami was being quiet about Kojima. They probably had him locked in a
Mhm.
closet somewhere.
That's the only way to
And-
contain him.
Yep. They just gave him a 300 terabyte hard drive, said go to work. 3 months later, they're like, "Oh shit, you're still in here." He hadn't eaten, he hadn't slept.
He
He's
doesn't need it.
he made 12 games that Konami will never release,
You wanna watch my
Kojima is
friend-
encrypted, okay?
but they ended up just getting rid of him.
That's
A
fucking
couple
bad.
months
Yeah.
a couple months later, he walks down the stage at the Sony press conference to say that he is opening a studio with Sony, and Kojima Productions is born.
Mhm.
And then sometime later, we get the first trailer with Death Stranding.
Mhm.
Talk about a fucking comeback.
Yes. Good man, good man. Big F you to Konami.
Oh yeah. No, everything that he has done,
I'm still angry about Silent Hills, and I
Yeah,
will probably
I really
forever.
hope one day
I
that
hate-
might come out.
I hate looking at my PlayStation 4 library of what I've got because
like,
I
it's so
uninstalled PT and it mocks me to this day. I cannot remove it from my list, but I cannot
Oh.
uninstall it. Or reinstall it.
Oh really?
Yeah. They removed it from the store, so it no longer exists. The only way to play it is to break into your system and do something illegal,
I think there's an Infinity War joke we can make here.
or use a console that did not update since they got rid of it. Yeah, it's stupid. But, in terms of Death Stranding as a game, we don't know shit.
Oh,
But I
right,
kind of
just
like that too
beautiful.
because there's so many games that it's like so much is spoiled for you before you're even.
That is strong.
It's nail polish.
I know.
It's strong.
So is your booze.
True.
I don't smell it over here.
We don't really know much about it.
Right.
I
it's
think
just
it was...
weird.
I can't remember if it was Mads Mikkelsen or someone at the studio or something
Mhm.
like that. ended up saying that there was a element of global cooperation required.
Oh, this is gonna be a good game.
And if you know about Metal Gear Solid 5, there was an optional game where you could make nuclear warheads and dispose of them. And when Kojima announced when they announced the game, they said that there was a hidden trailer that if everyone in the world got rid of their warheads, it would, basically
so cool.
basically solve nuclear war in Metal Gear Solid 5, and you get a cutscene.
That's how we solve world peace.
Exactly.
World peace, world peace.
If they do
world
anything even close to that in Death Stranding, it will be fucking chaos.
And it'll be beautiful.
It will be glorious chaos.
As someone who follows Chaos Gods, yes.
I'm just imagining Konami being like freaking Rorschach and Watchmen, being like, and then they turn to me and ask for help, and
Kill me!
And I whisper, no.
I'm just picturing Kojima in the Konami studios. I'm not stuck in here with you. You're all stuck in here with me.
I mean, is that very far from the truth?
Is Kojima the real life Rorschach?
Yes. I think we can establish that. He's best friends with Mads Mikkelsen, okay?
What's that do with Watchmen?
It doesn't have anything to do with Watchmen, but on the other hand...
He's got the best friends.
Yes.
That's true. That's a positive eye for.
But to segue clumsily, the next one they would most likely talk about is Spider-Man.
I'm so excited!
Spider-Man.
That one, it's confirmed to come out September 7th, so it's not that long. Which means I have 2 weeks to play Spider-Man before the Spyro trilogy comes out.
Yep. Same, ditto.
But this one is brand new Spider-Man. It's not based on the MCU. It's not based on anything on the comics.
And
it is Insomniac.
Yeah.
It's Insomniac's take on the character and everything.
There will be a lot of writing on this.
There will be sequences where you get to play as Spider-Man and as Mary Jane.
Okay.
Mary Jane has taken over the role of the reporter for the Daily Bugle.
Okay.
And they're using a more obscure, more recent villain, Mr. Negative.
Oh.
Okay.
Sounds like depression.
Like, on the good side, he's this philanthropist who wants to help the poor. When he's Mr. Negative, he just wants to destroy shit.
Okay.
Goals.
Another joke.
But basically, I don't remember if it's like he knows who he is or what, but it's Peter Parker working with him as the philanthropist and trying to kick his ass as the villain. Which I think could be a lot of fun.
The duality of man.
Yes. It's always popular in the Spider-Man series.
With great
well,
power
I
comes
like
great...
that about the Spider-Man series is they were willing to take chances a lot of the time.
And that's what they focused on a lot of the time, which was a very good thing. I remember reading a quote from, I don't remember who, but it was Marvel was heroes becoming gods, DC is gods becoming human.
It was,
or something like that.
Cosmonaut,
yeah. Which we haven't referenced them before on here.
They're so good.
They are. You should go watch them. Not right now. Listen to us.
Don't click that button.
Don't touch that dial. So yeah, everyone kind of knows what's coming out with Spider-Man. We're just gonna get sort of like one last big gameplay show, get a little bit more of an idea of maybe the story or something like that.
Like, even if it's just that one last
I am excited.
I'm hoping for quick time events like the old one.
Okay.
There are going to be quick time events.
I'm gonna die.
Oh, you're talking about the really terrible.
I'm going to die. Yes, that's exactly.
Yep.
Yes.
There are quick time events. And that was actually one of the things people had a problem with when they first showed off the game last year.
Right.
Because there were a lot of them. But there were a lot of them in that little demo they showed. So hopefully they tone it back a little bit for the full game. But we were talking before we started this about how Spider-Man 2 was like an open toy box.
Yeah.
Everything I've seen about this game is an open toy box.
Good.
That's what I've noticed too.
It is a...
Well, and just how much you can use of the environment in, like, your fighting, web shooting, it's great.
It's going to be a lot of fun. But,
I'm just thinking of that My Hero Academia game that was announced now.
Oh.
There was?
Yeah, there's a fighting game coming out.
Oh, fuck.
Have you watched My Hero Academia?
No, now I need to.
I would recommend it, honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think
I
you'd
think it's
really
really
love
good.
the tropes in that.
Yeah, everyone who's watched is like, come on, man. You're gonna
But
love this.
the thing that surprised me the most about Spider-Man,
Mhm.
it's developed by Insomniac. The reason that's surprising, they announced that they were going to make a Spider-Man game. They didn't say what studio was going to make it until they showed the reveal trailer at E3.
Mhm.
Everyone thought it was going to be Sucker Punch, the guys that made Infamous.
Oh, okay. I do get those two.
So in that same show, they showed that Insomniac is making Spider-Man, and Sucker Punch is making Ghost of Tsushima, the next game they're going to be talking about at the conference. I did a good goddamn transition. Screw you all. That was wonderful.
With Spider-Man.
Give me a Infamous Second Son 2, please.
Like, I'm okay with them holding off on Infamous. Because Ghost of Tsushima, we've only got a CG trailer for it so far.
I have yet to see the
I
trailer,
don't
so
even know
like.
what. Yeah.
Open world feudal samurai.
Okay.
But also, I love Delson, and I want him back.
Yes,
Come
I
on,
know.
Jimmy.
My boy.
I
miss my boy.
I want to get a new Infamous. I really do.
Yeah.
But I am perfectly okay with them making this. They haven't shown off gameplay, and I hope that's why they're focusing on it at the show today.
Like until I see
um,
it, then I'm
Monday.
just gonna be like.
I want to see more of it, is my point. Like, of the 4 games they're talking about, Spider-Man, Death Stranding, Ghost of Tsushima, and Last of Us Part 2, this is the only one we really haven't gotten much on. Because it just got announced last year, only has a CG trailer, and all we know is that you are a samurai whose family has been killed, and you go on basically a Yakuza death spree trying to avenge them.
Samurai Cat.
I need to watch that movie, but I love it.
Yes.
The only thing I wish this did was be more like Samurai Jack.
I was just gonna say,
yes.
just make a Samurai Jack game.
Like,
Might as well. Like,
I am-
shit.
Like, the trailer, we can watch the trailer later so you can all see
Okay.
it.
I am
But,
curious.
it is gorgeous.
Okay.
It is one of the most lifelike games in Sony's repertoire, and they just released God of War, and they're going to be talking about Last of Us Part 2. Like, it's that good of caliber,
Okay.
just from what they showed of this CG trailer.
Still gotta wait on that gameplay though. Could be a pretty.
We'll
journey.
probably get that Monday night, because that's when Sony's press conference is. But since we don't know much about that, speaking of Last of Us Part 2, thoughts on that?
Are you playing as the girl?
You are
Yeah.
Ellie in
Yes.
this one, yes.
Joel dead.
I
No.
do.
He
Joel
showed up.
might as well be dead.
He showed up
He's
in the
probably
first trailer.
gonna die.
He wasn't in the second, but that doesn't necessarily mean
Joel
anything.
probably
I'm
gonna die.
Yeah, like the first 5 minutes.
I'm
Dead.
kind of hoping it's not like Dishonored 2, where you can play one or the other. I hope you only play as Ellie, I
Yeah.
guess.
It's like the passing of the torch.
Right.
I liked that in Dishonored 2,
Mhm.
that you could play as both
Yeah.
Corvo and Emily. But I can see where you're coming from with this, because like the first
Ellie
game
is
was
ultimately
Joel's.
the
The first game was Joel's story.
Mhm.
This is now Ellie realizing her place in the world.
Mm-hmm.
My problem I have is I didn't want this. Last of Us, the first game, perfect on its own.
Yeah.
It did not need a sequel.
Arguably, I would agree with you. And then if they really wanted to do this, like, use different characters.
Yeah. Like
the universe
is
expand,
storyline.
expand the world,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
the characters. They're taking this in an Uncharted way. And with Uncharted, I was fine with multiple Uncharted games. Because it was basically just Indiana Jones at that point.
For sure.
Last of Us did not feel like it needed a sequel.
Yeah.
It had a great ending, a tragic ending, but a great one.
It's a very self-contained story.
It's a very self-contained story. And while the world would be more fun to explore, like you were saying, like get more characters in there, it doesn't need
Needed.
Joel and Ellie to survive.
No. And that was kind of the point at the end of it. Is
Yeah.
like they did. The world was going to go on the way it was going to go on, regardless of what had happened.
Exactly. And by basically making it this, where it's Ellie's story or whatever, I just want to see what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Because, like, Neil Druckmann and the other guy, who doesn't matter as much,
Okay.
this was
Big
The
bad
Last of
old
Us
guy.
was
The Salt
basically
History.
his first major project on his own as a director at Naughty Dog. He worked with someone else, and then they went on to make Uncharted 4. arguably the 2 best games released by Naughty Dog to date. This is him going into a sequel to his smash hit first game.
Yeah, this is gonna not be what people's expectations versus the reality of it.
Exactly. Because when he went into Uncharted 4, they had 3 games established where he had helped work on those games, but he didn't direct them. The 4th game, he did. And his whole, like, his take on the story, wonderful. I enjoyed Uncharted 4. I really did. It's probably the best one in the series. I don't want them to make Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah.
The second people started saying they were gonna, that was the rumor, no, don't make it. It's like Red Dead Redemption 2. We don't need it.
I don't need it. I don't need it.
The difference this time with the SpongeBob meme, I'm not gonna say that I need it.
Not until you see a preview. They're like, I need it!
No, I've seen I've seen 2 previews of The Last of Us Part 2 right now.
Well, those were
I'm
just
good.
trailers.
Gameplay is going to ultimately be the same. They'll update it and tweak it like they do with every Uncharted. But unless they decide to make some drastic change and make it more Tomb Raider-y, they're not going to do too much. It's going to be a mostly stealth-focused third-person shooter.
Yeah.
Maybe with better AI.
Maybe.
Maybe. Maybe.
But I have yet to meet man who can outrun bullet.
The thing that I'm most interested in is this takes place, I think they said 5-6 years after the events of the first game. Ellie is very clearly like 19, 20 years old in this. A, she buff, which is always good. And B, I want to know what happened to the world in that time.
That's a pretty significant jump.
I want to see the clickers.
Oh gosh, they're gonna be even more terrifying.
I want to see the enemies.
Actually, never see a clicker again. It'll be fine.
Cordyceps is just in general super terrifying to me, and then
like
the fact
while I don't want Last of Us Part 2 the way they're making it, I want to see how the world has changed. I want to see this world.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So, yeah, that's my take on it. Thoughts?
I don't know. I guess I just haven't seen enough for me to get hyped, so I don't have an opinion one way or the other, you know? It's hard for me to comment on it.
They've only really shown us 2 trailers, even. One of them where it was the reveal where Ellie's plucking away on the guitar and you see, like, a house scattered. And then the second one where she's hung.
Oh, I did not see that one.
No.
Yeah, the second trailer they showed off was brutal. She basically gets captured by some rogue bandits or whatever, put into a noose, and she's sitting there hanging before she's rescued. And it is some brutal imagery. Like, it is dark.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that ties in.
Like, I don't know what they're doing with this game, and...
Sounds very edgy. Gotta wait.
Edgelords.
Yeah. But...
I'm excited for it, to be honest. I haven't played too much of the first one, like, just the idea of the passing of the torch. I think that makes sense for a sequel, that you give it to the younger characters. They're all grown up now. Like, I think the story's going to be great. Like you're saying, Tony, the gameplay is probably going to be the same, but it would be nice as it's a completely different character. They should change up the gameplay, make it feel like a different game, just set in that world. Yeah.
I hope they don't pull a full Uncharted 4 in terms of changing the gameplay, though. Because, like, Uncharted 4, they introduced the Python, or Piton, I don't know how to actually pronounce it. It's basically that little stake you use when you're climbing, like rock climbing.
Okay.
To, like, latch your rope onto or whatever. In the game, Nathan can use it as sort of like an extra ledge that he can go onto on certain surfaces. Mm-hmm. The second they introduce that, almost every climbing sequence has to have it now. Like, before, you went through fine. None of that. And then he gets this thing, and it's like, oh, hey, here's this new thing. Use it. Use it. Use it.
Yeah.
I hope they don't do that again. Like, that was honestly one of the more minor annoyances I had with Uncharted 4. They utilized their stuff too much. When they introduced something new, they had to keep using it.
Yeah. Well, and that in itself feels almost dated. Like, you just remember a lot of old games games where it's like they would focus so heavily on this new mechanic that they would just ignore the rest of the game for a while.
So yeah, that's Last of Us Part 2. The only other game that we know for sure is coming to the Sony press conference is probably the second or third one that I'm most excited to see. And that's Media Molecule's Dreams.
Those are 3 words that you said in an order.
Media Molecule is the studio that made Little Big Planet.
Ah, gotcha.
Oh, okay.
Dreams is their next project.
Okay, that makes more sense than Media Molecule's Dreams.
Yeah.
Basically, what it is take Little Big Planet.
Okay,
The basic idea.
I've got it
where
right
you
here.
where you create a side-scrolling adventure using mostly patchwork stuff and everything like that.
Okay, I've got that.
Expand it to the ever-loving Belief.
Okay. Whoop. It's been stretched.
You basically are given small little clay dolls that you can work with and expand and move.
Oh,
You can
like
literally
that.
make anything according to them.
Oh, that can
And
be
You
so
can finally
creepy.
do your Monty
Yeah,
Python level.
That's what I'm going to do. The 3... They have a story mode to it as well. There
We
are
don't care
3 different sections to it. A classic noir-style point-and-click.
Noir.
A old detective films.
Okay, that's just. Kind
He's looking at you, kid.
kid.
A hack and slash cutesy teddy bear.
Oh, what the fuck?
And
Okay.
a little robot droid thing going through a mechanical jungle of sorts. Supposedly, these 3 things will A, give you all the assets you need to make whatever you need, and B, be an intertwining story.
I'm just thinking of that Mark Twain claymation movie that was creepy as hell, where the devil showed up.
Yep.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome. What's it called?
I cannot remember for life me right now. You
Let's
can find
look
it
it
on.
up.
You can find this clip on YouTube very easily, where they're meeting with the devil, and he's talking about how awful humans are and how they just need to be squished.
Yeah.
And Tom Sawyer's there, and he's like, "That doesn't seem very nice at all."
I don't want
That doesn't
The
seem
devil.
safe.
That's
Um,
sanitary.
but in general, this game is going to expand on the creativity that Little Big Planet has. Little Big Planet is probably one of the most creative suites you're going to get out there in terms of gaming. Even with the
Definitely.
limited side-scrolling techniques they have in Little Big Planet 2 and 3, people have made full-fledged first-person shooters in Little Big Planet
I'm impressed.
using wires and cardboard, literally. Imagine not even being limited to a side-scroller anymore from the guys
Yeah,
that
that's
let
gonna
you
be
do
great.
that. On top of that, they're adding VR support for it. And you'll be able to sculpt things in VR.
The truth comes
It's
out.
gonna be great.
That's why I take my nail polish.
Make 1 meat pizza and 1 cheese pizza, please.
Okay.
Yay, thank you, Kim.
I need my nails.
They're pretty.
So,
What color are they?
that is all that I know
This color.
for sure is going to be at Sony's press conference. Any thoughts on the 5 games before we move on to predictions?
I'll be honest. Sony's not really as much what I'm here for, so it's hard for me to
Yeah.
offer much to the conversation. I'm here for Nintendo, and then Bethesda, really.
Maybe a little bit Square Enix, too.
Yeah, some Squeenix.
I can see you wanting to talk a little bit about maybe Ubisoft or something like that, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, when you list a game and I like it, I can talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see gameplay of this Dreams game because just you describing it, like, it sounds insane. It sounds
This is
fun, too.
also, like, I'm basically an evangelist at this point. Like, I just want this fucking game. And
Yeah,
it's supposed to
it's-
come out this year. We have no release date or anything, so I'm hoping they give us one. The second we get one, I'm pre-ordering it.
Like, it just sounds super creative, and I think Sony needs that at
Exactly.
this point.
Well, they don't necessarily need the creativity. If anything, Microsoft needs the creativity.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause
That-
they have
yeah.
they have nothing right now, but we'll get into that when we get to them. Sony
That's why I
has
got an Xbox, just for the interface.
just for that NFL package.
Okay.
An NFL package sounds like something you get after a date with the player.
Yep.
Yep.
It's something you get after going on a date with an NFL player.
That's what I just said.
You know
We're
what?
both equally
It's-
disgusting.
Yes.
Yeah, but in a good way.
In general, Sony might only be bringing those 5 games. Specifically, the first 4 we talked about. Dreams is going to get like a passing mention or something.
Okay.
They have specified that they're going to talk about those 4 with some like filler content in between, like of Dreams and some other games.
Okay.
Their entire press conference is focusing on Spider-Man, Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding, and Last of Us Part 2. Like, that's what their press conference is going to be this year.
I'm honestly okay with that.
So am I. I just want to know what the fuck's happening with Dreams, so I might not be ready for Sony's conference.
Dreams.
So there's a trailer for it, or you just heard
Dreams
that
was
description?
Dreams was initially announced as like a tech demo from them,
Okay.
2 or 3 years ago, where they have the wand controllers for the VR, and they're using them like marionettes to control 2 dancers.
Spooky.
Like, they are clearly devoting themselves to VR for this, and I'm okay with that. Especially since I just got a VR. But
Perfect.
I just realized something. You
What?
can make your Mario Kart fever dream in Dreams.
the one we'll make Zach's fever dream, where he's going to get fudge from a zebra on Rainbow Road.
I hope I'm remembering that correctly.
So yeah, those are the 5 that we know are going to be at the show. Maybe a little bit less of Dreams, but mostly those 4 and hopefully Dreams.
Okay.
Anything that y'all want and predictions from the Sony side of things?
Jack and Daxter, which would probably never happen.
Considering Naughty
Like a
Dog is
remake
full
or a
force
sequel?
on Last of Us Part 2. And
I know.
they also tried to make a Jack 4.
Yeah.
If you get the art book, which I have, of Naughty
course you
Dog's
do.
history, they did talk about a Jack 4 for a while. When they were initially talking about doing either... They actually split into two teams.
Mm-hmm.
One team eventually became The Last of Us, and the other team was working on Jack 4 that eventually melded into what we got of The Last of Us. But it was going to be much more realistic and everything like that, but they sat down and said, are we just making a Jack game for the sake of making a sequel, or do we have a reason to make it? And I commend them for that.
Yeah.
I want them
Yeah.
to go in wanting to make it instead of just doing fan expectation.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I'm okay if we don't get a Jack game for a while. I am, however, super excited for the Insomniac remake,
Yeah.
Spyro.
Honestly, same.
If they're going to show that at any of the press conferences this year, I feel like it's going to be Sony.
Well, and I feel...
Especially
It's their
after the splash they made with Crash.
Oh,
when
yeah,
they
for
announced
sure.
the Insane
I want
trilogy.
them to show, like, the Ripto's Rage and Year of the Dragon.
Because we've only seen the first game thus
Yeah.
far.
So
And
if they
And
show
that's what
anything
Crash
from
did,
those
too.
2 games, I'll probably be happy
Yeah.
because I'm a huge Spyro fan.
Exactly. We're okay. Like, we just want to see more of the game, guys. Please.
And to me, at least, from what we've seen
Damien
so far,
Hirst, for the love of God.
it looks a lot better than the Crash game.
Oh,
they
it
made too. Like the
I would
fire
argue,
effects
yeah.
look fantastic.
Yeah.
the tiny amount of scales you can see on his
Yeah,
body,
it
like
looks
shit.
really good.
I
Spyro-
can't wait to see like endgame levels in this engine.
I'm just super excited for it. I don't think anyone is more excited than Jeremy Dooley at Achievement Hunter, because he did a 48-hour or so total live stream playing the original trilogy,
I am
where
proud
he
of
played non-stop 100%ing all 3 games.
Him. Damn, I'm proud of him.
Jeez.
He has played through them 12 times now. There is no bigger Spyro fan out there, I think. And I am fine with that. But speaking of remakes, though, did y'all ever play Medieval?
Yes,
Which
I
one?
did hear about this.
In December at the Paris Games Week, they talked about a remake of the old PlayStation 1 game Medieval,
I'm so ready.
where you play as Sir Daniel, a skeleton knight.
I'm ready.
Wait, is that the one
ready.
of those claymations style, or is that a different game I'm thinking of?
You're thinking
No,
of
that-
Skull Monkeys.
Yes.
Yeah, they need to remake that.
I
They
would
will-
also
yeah.
argue they need to remake.
remake
I
They will
know.
never remake
That
Skull
game
Monkeys,
is
but they need
insane,
to.
But yeah.
All we know now is that it's in development. They announced it basically because the Sean Layden, the head of Sony now, does this thing now where he wears a T-shirt to announce something,
Mhm.
and he had his shirt obscured for most of the show until he showed it off.
I love
And that's how they announced
I
it.
love announcement strip teases. That's great.
Well, you know why he does that now, right?
Because he's a sexy man who needs a striptease.
I could see someone finding him sexy, but no. It's because of Crash.
There you go.
The press conference they had before they officially unveiled the Insane Trilogy, he was wearing a Crash t-shirt.
Hey.
Didn't say anything about Crash at the time, and everyone was saying, oh my god, Crash is coming back. And then the next E3,
So he's just like leaning into it, basically.
he leaned into it, and I love that. I kind of hope he just has like 5 shirts on during the show, and it's just like, there's this one!
Yeah.
Or tear away pants with the title on the booty.
Please no.
Yeah!
Yeah.
Jack 4.
Tear away,
Work
tear away.
Have you guys, have you all seen Sean Layden?
I
No.
don't care. Work it.
I have no
Is he
idea
a
what this
big
man
guy?
looks like.
A little bit.
That's fine.
Work
He's
it.
He is very much an executive,
Okay.
but he's able to
Okay.
talk to normal people.
Which is why he needs to
Executive
rip off
Executive
booty
sexy.
shorts.
Work it. Spread some money out.
I make it rain on
So
the
yeah,
net
that's-
CEOs. I make
Like, that's
it
going to be a lot of fun to see. One of the other things I'm pretty sure we're going to get is new VR titles.
Dun, dun, dun.
Don't know what we're going to get. I just know we're going to get some new games.
Five Nights at Freddy's VR.
Oh.
Yeah, that's gonna happen.
Didn't they
for
already
sure.
do that?
They
Like,
might have, I
think,
don't know.
I think that they did that with, like, the Oculus or the HTC Vive or something like that, where you can actually play Five Nights at Freddy's in VR. Or at least there's, like, some spin-off or something like that.
I'll take your word for
Reboot
it.
Five Nights at Freddy's. And they'll make them actually look like the Chuck E. Cheese. Animatronics.
4 days at Fuckboys.
Yeah. No more of this pre-rendered shit. That's easy to make.
But yeah, in general, like, I'm kind of curious what they're gonna do with VR. Like, they had those pre E3 announcements I mentioned before. The first thing they mentioned had VR support, so very clearly Sony is not giving up on VR. So what are they gonna show us that's gonna make people want to play VR? God of War VR?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'd be so game for that.
So
Yeah.
would I. The plot twist: you only get to see through the perspective of Atreus.
Okay, I would
It's
also-
basic-
It's
That was still
I would
basically
still be okay with that.
Yeah.
the entire thing is just one of. It's like the Batman VR experience, where
Yeah.
it's just like a little slice of Batman's life or whatever. But it's
From
just
Robin.
you staring up at Kratos and him constantly going, "Boy."
I would still be okay
He just
with
pats
that.
your head.
Boy.
Oh, that would be
My
fucking
boy.
funny.
My boy.
That would be funny,
My
actually.
Man, I'm pretty
I
traumatized
can't-
at this point.
If Corey Barlog, if by some miracle you hear this, please make this happen.
Come
Make
on,
a
man.
mod where it's my boy.
My man.
My man.
My boy.
Yeah, that country accent.
I want to leave
Oh.
right now.
And you
Country
can.
Kratos, come on. He's gonna sweep the nation.
So the only
You
other
gotta
thing,
wait for Bethesda.
so the only other thing that I personally can see potentially being shown up at Sony's press conference,
PlayStation All Star.
sadly no.
Oh.
Though we'll get into that. Psychonauts 2,
Yes.
specifically because of the Rhombus of Ruin
Mhm.
being PSVR exclusive. They clearly have an interest in Psychonauts.
I'm ready.
So if they're going to have anywhere at E3 to show off a new trailer for Psychonauts 2,
Yeah,
which we haven't heard much about recently,
Please,
unless you're
guys,
following-
Yeah.
please.
unless you're following the YouTube channel like I am.
Yeah.
I am actually.
Yep. I could see them dropping a trailer. If nothing else, to give like everyone a reminder that, hey, this
It's
is still coming.
happening, yeah.
It is delayed to 2019. We know that for sure.
Okay.
I'm kind of okay with that though.
So am
just
I.
As long as they have it a more polished,
Right.
more enjoyable
We've
game.
waited this long. We just
Yeah.
want it to be good.
Right.
At this point.
Just so
and-
long as I actually get a sequel to my favorite game ever.
Same. The only thing that I would maybe want a little bit more than Psychonauts 2 is Brutal Legend 2. But the only reason being I had more fun in Brutal Legends world than I did in the
Okay.
various worlds that
Yes.
Psychonauts
Yes,
gave.
I saw a little bit of it on Netflix.
Well, I mean, that could be more unlimited constraints what you can do with a PS2
Well, yeah,
and PS3.
it very much was.
Yeah.
I feel
And-
like if they made a more polished version, for Brutal Legends 2, I'd be more on game for
Like
it.
a lot of people hated the RTS strategy behind
hated
it.
that so fucking much. I'm like,
I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
I was there for the world. I was there for
Right.
the environment, everything like that.
Yeah, agreed.
And I would love for them to return. Tim Schafer
Yeah.
did say, we will make a Psychonaut sequel. If it goes well, we will probably make a Brutal Legend sequel. Jack
Right.
Black is still yelling at us to make it.
To be fair, Jack Black's doing pretty well for us. He was in the...
He was in the new Gorillaz music
Yeah,
video.
exactly.
Oh fuck yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
So those are the predictions I have. I already talked about Days Gone because that was a prediction I had on here from 4 days ago before they gave the official announcement of the release. So you were thinking PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale 2.
Right. If they just if
The
they
problem with that title,
Oh.
though,
Oh no.
Fortnite.
Yeah.
If we're going to get PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, it's going to be Sony mascots dropping onto an island and duking it out in an ever-closing circle.
I'd
They
still
don't
be
wanna make
okay
it a
with
fighting
that.
game. Yeah.
My-
Can you imagine Spyro going after Sly Cooper? Like,
You see, now...
Bites his neck.
You see, the thing is now, they just got Thanos in Fortnite. Are they just going to give us PlayStation character skins? And that's going to be Battle Royale 2?
You see,
They're like, yeah,
you know, you
this
said
first game sucked, you guys.
You
This
said-
is the best we can do.
you said PlayStation mascots. For a second, I heard PlayStation CEOs, like all of these just
Yeah,
like
they're
men
just
in
getting-
business suits, all running towards each
I-
other.
Throw in Nintendo so we can get Reggie and Shigeru Miyamoto in there.
Yeah.
Hell, even Xbox. Let's just have the CEOs of the 3 major console productions make that a Battle Royale
Konami
game.
Yeah,
is
those
I
are the
would
darlings
narrating from the
below.
background in battle.
It's like that religion one, except it's CEOs of games.
And each character can have like different stats or
No,
whatever.
This
no,
sounds
even,
awful,
even
Ned Play it.
it's
Yeah.
better the Les Mis battle game.
Oh my
Oh.
Oh
god.
yes,
That's great.
Yes, yeah,
Bring that to
'Cause-
consoles.
yeah. Japan loves their like Miz so much.
But yeah, in
They made him
terms-
fucking fight.
In terms of Battle Royale 2, for the actual like discussion of the fighting game, I have thoughts, and I will be making a video on it.
Here
Okay.
comes a thought.
This is just.
I will share these thoughts with you later, after we're done with this.
I think Walter wants to hear them now. Don't deny the
We'll
Walter.
be here for 3 hours,
Oh, God.
just talking about that.
Yeah, that's probably true.
All right. Microsoft next.
Well,
Love you, Microsoft.
Microsoft is not next if we're going by the arbitrary rules of going backwards in terms of when conferences go.
Right.
But before we continue on to Ubisoft, is there anything that y'all want to add towards the Sony discussion? Like anything you might want to see from them?
Nah.
Wildest fantasies.
Ooh, my wildest Sony fantasies.
I don't know.
Well, for you, it would probably be Twisted Metal related.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get us.
Okay, I like needles, but that's not necessarily the same thing as liking Twisted Metal.
Well, I'm actually genuinely surprised we haven't gotten a new one. The 2013 PS3 game actually went over pretty well. Like it didn't sell the greatest,
Loved this couch
but
because she burrows. Someone ate her. She was happy. Sorry. I'm sorry.
talking about my mother-in-law's dog.
Yeah, she's a little
Um,
dachshund, and she would get
oh,
stuck in the
she-
couch, and she'd be happy because she's like
Oh.
burrowed in.
But we didn't get anything after the 2013 Twisted Metal game.
That is kind of a shame.
So we could potentially
Get Twisted Metal
get
again.
Twisted Metal again.
Needles.
That would be
needles,
that would actually
needles.
be.
I would be down for that.
Yeah, that
down
would
to
be great.
clown if you would.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
We all know Emily's down to clown.
You know
Um,
what? Heck you. Heck you in your.
Heck you.
Heck you.
Heck me.
Oh,
Heck you.
Heck you.
dude. Bring out the
In fact,
heck
I would-
word.
I would much
That's
rather
A
have
lot
an
of hell fucking.
I would much rather have a Twisted Metal game, like a sequel, remake, whatever, than that Star Fox one they were talking about.
Honestly,
Yeah.
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 Like, obviously, two different companies, not gonna go into that, but could you imagine a crossover with F-Zero and Twisted Metal?
Oh my god.
The F-Zero speed with the
I think
Twisted
we-
Metal brutality?
I think
That-
we
yeah.
did a space RPG session that involved that.
Yeah, you did.
Oh.
Well, that
Yeah.
was more just the arena combat. So, anyway.
Like, They would never do this, but they should just take Twisted Metal and put like Crash and Spyro, all your cute mascots in it too.
Well,
And just watch
if
them
we're going
get
back to
blown
the
up.
Jack X discussion, they had Ratchet as a playable racer.
Right.
If you had Ratchet deadlocked on your memory card, you could have Ratchet as a playable racer in Jack X Racing. So it's not out of the question for them to do something like that. They have guest characters all the time.
Right. If any
Especially
character's gonna
in
be a guest
Sony
character,
exclusive
it would be
games.
Jax.
Especially in Sony exclusive ones. I am genuinely surprised we don't have a Aloy costume for Kratos in God of War. Or vice versa.
Don't know what that is.
Aloy is from Horizon Zero Dawn, the main character.
Oh, gotcha.
Her.
Oh yeah, she looks like that other woman from
Brave.
that too.
She looks like a more primal Brave. That's one of the things I've heard. But they do a lot of crossover with stuff like that, so we could potentially see something like that. I don't know. Could be fun.
You could be fun.
Yeah, it could be. Anything else before we move on to Ubisoft?
I think I'm good.
Bring on the oobs.
All right. So, Ubisoft.
Call for my Uber.
From what I can tell, Ubisoft kind of has the most confirmed for their show. We've got a lot of different games that got leaked, and
They
a lot
blew
of
their load early.
well, not necessarily they blew their load early. It's more
They blew
games
just
got
in time.
games got leaked, and they wanted to get ahead of the curve. I think, like Assassin's Creed Odyssey got leaked, and that one is Assassin's Creed in ancient Greece. Literally,
Wow.
all we have right now
Could have just been a crossover.
Is the
with
logo?
Mario.
with Assassin's Creed Odyssey and a Viking
Okay,
and
crossover with God of War.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey logo is just the name with a Greek Trojan helmet and a key, which was a promotional item for the game that someone put online that made them just say, "Oh yeah, here."
Yeah.
Well, now I gotta play it.
After Origins, though, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
I don't like Assassin's Creed,
But Origins made
Origins-
it super interesting. Like,
especially if they do one thing that Origins did, and this is one of the things that not a lot of other gamers would agree with. Give me the walking tour of ancient Greece.
Yeah, that would be
Because
awesome.
they have that walking tour of ancient Egypt in Assassin's Creed Origins. One of the best parts of the game.
my only worry is this is gonna take place in Athens.
Yeah.
Oh,
And fuck Athens.
Yeah.
Medieval Athens, not current Athens. I'm
Yeah,
sorry
okay.
to any Greeks that are listening to this.
Yeah, Athens had some issues back in the day.
So yeah, we don't really know too much about that one. We also don't know too much about The Division 2. That multiplayer,
Is there any more green?
that third-person shooter they came out with that was basically MMORPG, America's Super Soldiers thing. I'll wait until the crinkling is done.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
it's never gonna stop.
We got Pop Rocks, which is the perfect snack.
Aftershock.
Give me
And make
some
sure
green.
you get right up close to
Yeah,
the
boy.
microphone when you do that. There you go. Enjoy that Pop
Yeah.
Rocks, everybody.
Aftershocks.
But yeah, The Division 2 is confirmed to be showing. I don't care. Ubisoft didn't let me in the game, so I don't care.
How dare they?
Well, I tried to get into the early alpha, the beta, and the actual game.
Damn.
The early alpha was really limited, so I wasn't surprised to not get into that. The beta, anyone who had pre-ordered it or worked at GameStop got a code to get in. My code didn't work, so I just said fuck it. I tried to buy the game a year after, or I got the game a year after it came out. Put it in my system, and it said I had been banned after never playing it. Turns out, Ubisoft had recently done a series of bans for cheaters in the game. And when I called them and said, like, hey, what the hell, I never played this game, they said, oh, some accounts got flagged by mistake. So, like,
That's
he,
terrible.
the guy on the other line was very respectful and basically was like, yeah, I can reinstate your account if you want. And I just replied with, dude, clearly someone doesn't want me to play. I'm not going to play. He just said, I understand. Thank you. Bye. So I don't care about The Division. But that's going to be at the press conference. So, had to bring that up. Honestly, I'm more excited for The Crew 2, which is basically open world racing game. Go across all of America using different vehicles and fun stuff like that. But the one that I am personally super excited for, Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Ah.
That is really exciting.
Yeah. They dropped a huge bombshell last year when they showed that off. Because they had said...
They showed gameplay of it?
They didn't show gameplay. They just had a CG trailer. They had a live stream recently that showed the early work gameplay they had. And it looks fun. It's early build, so there's not much for it. But Beyond Good and Evil is one of those games that I never got into personally. Because by the time I had the chance to play it, it was 13 years old.
Right.
I have like a remake of it or something like that on the PS3. It's hard to control.
Okay.
Like, I'm in it for the world. Where it's one of those where multiple strains of DNA happened and multiple, like, humanoids occur.
Okay.
Humanoid, more, like, cognitive apes, pigs, things like that.
Okay. That's where the big guy comes from.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Right.
And what they've shown off thus far has me intrigued. I want to see more.
Yeah.
Because they show off, like, these giant spaceships that you're supposedly able to pilot. They show this huge, almost Indonesian-looking city that's just filled with tons of super technological things, but ancient architecture at the same time. Like, they are building up so much of it. The little teaser trailer we got shows so much of this world. I want to see so much more. It also helps that one of the characters in the trailer is a goofy monkey.
What? Okay, I'm ready.
That's all Walter needs to hear.
Yep.
I need that goofy.
And then I guess if we're talking about things confirmed for Ubisoft's show, we're probably going to get an awkward dance sequence for Just Dance 2019.
Just Dance.
Because there's no doubt in my mind they're not continuing that game. They show it at every year. They show it every year at E3. It always stops the presentation dead for a dance sequence that is very well choreographed that no one is into. Hell, you can look at the faces of some of the dancers and they're just like, all right, let's just get this over with.
Yeah, a game.
I get why.
Really
I get why they have it at every year. They want to show off new features. They want to talk about the game because it does make them money. There is a market for it.
Yeah, that's still over.
But when But when Just Dance 2019 with the newest Kesha song comes on, is sequestered in between Division 2 and Assassin's Creed,
that's a great thing.
That is a huge tonal shift.
You're not dissing my girl Kesha now, are you?
I'm not.
You better not be.
I am just saying they use her a lot.
She's great.
She is great.
Yes.
I love her.
So yeah, that's aside from like updates on some other games like For Honor, which I'm surprised still is going. That's all I've got in terms of what's confirmed. Any thoughts on like any of those games or?
I'm sorry for being so boring and not having thoughts on these games.
Oh, you're fine. We know that you're here for Square Enix and Bethesda, which are the next two we're going to talk about. So.
Yay!
Yeah,
So,
I'm indifferent for now.
Okay.
I'm interested in Beyond Souls or what?
Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Okay, Beyond Good and Evil.
Yep.
So with the first
Beyond
one,
Two Souls is a completely separate thing.
right? Isn't that?
That's David Cage's follow up to
With,
Heavy Rain
Oh,
with Ellen Page
Ellen Page
and Willem Dafoe. Yep.
Well,
I'm waiting for that sequel. But
They
anyway,
actually just remade it for the PS4 and I got it for free, so
hey.
we can get drunk and play that later.
Hey. I'm already halfway there.
Oh gosh, Jimmy, already?
You've barely had any mead. What the hell happened to your tolerance?
share the mead.
It was
Share
lessened
the
a little bit.
load.
It was lessened by my work experience today, so.
Ah.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I had a bad day.
I'll do it.
So yeah, any thoughts towards any of those games other than like your interest in Beyond Good and Evil 2? We'll show you more of it later because it definitely is one to look forward to. Like the little bit they've shown with the CG trailer, and the in-progress build of the game, I am ready. My body, I am Reggie Fils-Aimé. My body is ready.
Your body is Reggie.
Oh, God.
There's not much keeping you here, and we're just making terrible puns.
Yep.
Stay for the Reggie Fils-Aimé puns, dude.
Come for this eloquent discussion about video games. Stay for the Reggie Fils puns.
What fucking eloquent discussion.
None of us are eloquent.
All right.
Well.
So, you all know what Ubisoft makes, right?
Yes.
Games.
Yeah.
They make games.
What
Make
games
the
they
Rain Man.
make?
Ones you can play.
They make fun ones. They're kind of colorful sometimes. Some of them are dark and spooky. I don't like.
I'll just list off a list of stuff for you all.
Rayman. I want to see a Rayman sequel.
That's actually the first thing I have on my list.
I want to see a 3D Rayman game again. Because
Agreed.
Rayman 2 is one of the best games.
Given how well Rayman Legends is,
well,
they're gonna stick with Rayman and the Ubi art stuff, so it's gonna be a 2D side scroller if they do another Rayman game.
I think they overdid it with Rayman Legends.
They did it a little bit because they had like the original levels from the original game in there too, and there was just too much of that. And
Well,
blah,
there
blah,
wasn't really a focus in the second one. You had like, I don't know, the rock and roll thing. You had
Well, the thing that I want them to take their Just Dance idea, like, you know, make popular songs or whatever, make those musical levels with Rayman.
Yeah, I do want to see.
Basically, make a rhythm game using Rayman,
That'd be pretty
where
cool.
you use platforming levels with Rayman stylized music.
Yes, that would be fantastic.
I would love,
Yeah.
because like the Castle Rock level that you get in Rayman Legends,
It's super fun.
one of
Yeah,
the
those
best
are-
video game levels I've played in years, and it's just because they use Black Betty.
You know, on that note, I'm kind of surprised there isn't a VR, like, Just Dance type thing, where instead of using the tracking camera, they use...
Well, they actually, they don't really use VR because you do a lot of movements and that can shift the headset around.
Start headbanging
They
in Bohemian
have-
Rhapsody, the VR headset
They
flies
have,
through the window.
however, started just having you put your phone in your pocket,
Oh.
and that will track your movements. You don't even need a camera anymore.
Ah.
You just put your...
Ah.
Okay, we can clearly tell you're not interested.
Wow.
Wow.
But yeah, I would love to see a new Rayman game. We're probably... What were you going to say?
It would. I'd be fine if it's another side scroller if they put the rabbits in it, because they teased in Legends that you can put a rabbit amigo.
Amigo?
Amigo. He's a friend. He's a friend. All right, you put your amigo.
We're all amigos now.
We're all amigos now.
Is
We're all rabbits now.
Regan and you coming out of there?
I want Overwatch Rabbit Rabbits.
What are you saying in me? It's there.
Jimmy, you're getting very chill.
I think that's part of why they're eaten. Okay. But you were saying?
So
Use the rabbit amigo.
I want I want them to continue expanding the roster because that art style is wonderful.
Yeah.
And I think they only had like 4 really selectable characters in the last one. I think that really
There
does
were-
it a disservice.
yeah.
Because essentially there's like 4 or 5 archetypes.
You have
and they're all-
Rayman, the blue dude,
yeah, you have Glowbox,
Glowbox,
the Teensies.
yep, the Teensies, and the Barbarian Girl.
Yes.
Like, those were the 4 playable characters. I usually use a Barbarian Girl variant myself. But, in general, yeah, I want to see more of that, too. Like, I wouldn't mind a rabbit one.
Fantastic character design. Just
And they could even pull from the game's history. Like, you were saying you want a new Rayman 2, essentially?
yeah.
Like, pull from characters from there. Get us new characters in that, you know?
Yeah,
They
those
do-
characters were really one note.
Yeah.
They're not coming back.
But even as just skins, as references, that'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, that would be cool. There was like a giant character in the second one that kind of sounded like Ralph Bakshi. And I'm like, what are they doing with it? It's fun though.
Ubisoft also makes the Far Cry series.
Oh, okay.
And Far Cry 5 just came out.
Right.
They might talk more about the DLC.
Okay.
Probably.
they're coming out with the first DLC, which for the Far Cry 5 game, set in Heartland, Montana. I don't know the actual name of the town. They're sending you to Vietnam.
Hannah Montana.
The first DLC is literally just Vietnam.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
My
man.
time and name.
Unlike previous entries of the DLC for Far Cry, when this game was in development, they sent out a poll. And that poll basically said, hey, if we were going to do something weird and wacky with Far Cry, where would you want it to go? And they had things like Wild West, Vietnam, aliens, zombies, and so on. So the 3 DLC they have confirmed for Far Cry 5, Vietnam, aliens, and zombies.
Oh, they're aping off Call of Duty at that point.
So we'll probably get a little bit more on those, because all they have right now, from what I've seen, is these are the DLC things. No gameplay, just this is what you're getting.
Ooh. You can't see it, but I'm rolling my finger.
Dude, I wish they would make a Far Cry Primal 2.
That one was fun.
That would be...
Because that's the only Far Cry game I kind of gave a shit about,
Yeah.
to be honest. It's one of the prettiest games. Like, you can just kind of walk around and observe things, and that's really nice. It's fun to have a repertoire of just
Animals to...
animals to
I
sick.
think you can do that a little bit in the other Far Cry games as well. I know in 5 you get Boomer, the best boy. And you heal him by petting him.
That's such a good mechanic.
You can also, like, tame bears, I think, in the game. I don't...
Oh, okay, that's from...
Yeah.
Yeah,
Far Cry
time
Primal.
off.
But they've done that since Far Cry 3.
Gotcha.
So,
Like, that game... Like, I just love the aesthetic. Like, I always wanted a great caveman game. And that's what that is.
yeah.
The only thing they could fix is, like, there's some sections where you control a mammoth and they control, like, dog shit. Because they should really be, like,
They control,
a third.
like, mammoth shit, yeah.
Yeah. It's the worst. Like, it could just be, like, a third-person thing, and I think it would play a lot better.
Yeah.
Because you just, like, see the head of the mammoth, and you can't tell, like, where you're, like, thrashing your head back and forth, and there's just, like, woolly rhinoceroses attacking you from all corners.
There's also Watch Dogs.
Okay.
I don't know if any of you like that series.
Did they come out with the second one, or they're
They did.
coming out with
The
the
second
They did.
one was ultimately better in my opinion because at least the main character wasn't
A complete and
cunt.
total douche, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Aiden Pierce is one of the defining white boy stereotype protagonists in gaming.
Yeah.
They do that on purpose.
Don't fucking know.
Uh,
Well, maybe a little bit, because, like, they ended up advertising the game with his signature hat as one of the pre-order bonuses if you got the collector edition. It's literally just a black hat with the game's logo on it. But it's Aiden Pierce's signature hat, so you're gonna love it. Right, kids?
I hate this
No.
guy already.
he's a douche.
He basically gets parts of his family killed, and instead of stopping the hacking that got them killed in the first place,
Yeah.
he doubles down and says, I'm gonna do it more. Only to have someone else get killed that was working with him and another one of his family members.
Yeah.
I mean,
Fuck
that's
that
the
guy.
kind of the
It's
crime
all,
doesn't
it's
pay.
it's a revenge story where he doesn't really learn his lesson. Like in some revenge
that's
stories
good.
where it goes wrong, they sit there and say, "Okay, I need to stop."
But this is just a terrible character.
It is
like,
just a terrible
okay.
character. The sequel did better with the characters, but they committed a cardinal sin of recent gaming.
Yeah.
They made them millennials.
Millennial.
Millennials haven't caught on yet in video games?
They have,
Well,
and
so-
that's the problem.
Oh.
Like
We're
the
that
character,
group.
the characters had
Alright.
character. They were actual people,
Yeah.
but they were basically just stereotypes still.
Yeah.
Which,
Avocado.
yeah. Yeah.
and that leads
well.
into the fact that there are rumors of a Watch Dogs 3.
Avocado edition.
I would
I
play-
am Avocado Man.
If they double down on the millennial thing and make it as ironic as possible,
Yeah,
like,
they do,
like
like,
he
this
just sends
Saints
vines to
Row
people
thing,
as his
yeah.
hacking, I'd be fine with that. But they're gonna try and make it some
Edgy.
some hack the planet storyline.
Well, what? That hasn't worked for 2 games now, right?
Yeah.
So. it's
But
time to switch it
Ubisoft
up.
rarely changes up the formula. Just look at
They
Assassin's
rarely
Creed.
learn from their mistakes.
Just look at Assassin's Creed.
Didn't they
It
did
took-
make Saints Row? Who made Saints Row? I thought?
Volition.
Okay.
Completely separate.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed, basically, it wasn't until Unity, the, 8th entry in the franchise, where
Yeah.
everything went buggy and went to shit, that people started to say, okay, give us something new.
Right. They made way too many. of those
Yeah.
fucking games.
They don't really understand sequelization. You need to innovate a lot more. And that's why we got ultimately the same game for Watch Dogs 2. We got a ton of different Assassin's Creed games. All the Far Cry games feel very similar, and people notice that with 5. They may change the setting, but everything else stays the same.
Yeah.
So hopefully they change that.
Still want that 3D Rayman game. Rayman 4.
Yeah, the only other thing that I really know for sure they have is the Tom Clancy stuff.
Eh.
And none of you
None
guys-
of us give
I
a
don't.
shit.
None of you
Yeah,
care about
sorry.
that, so we're not going to talk about that.
If Jacob was here.
If Jacob was here, he'd
Different
be...
story.
We would not get him
Hear
to shut
the
up
end of
about it.
But that's Jacob for you.
Yeah.
That's why we put him in Seattle.
Naughty
Love you,
Jacobs go to
Jacob.
Seattle.
Welcome into Seattle. We're sorry, Seattle.
That's not
We've had
nice.
enough of this boy.
That's not nice.
Yeah, I'm out of here.
Okay.
No, we all love Jacob.
We do.
That's still not nice.
We do.
He'd be laughing his ass off.
Any last thoughts on Ubisoft, I guess?
Nah.
They're gonna have... I mean, they
Let's see.
could potentially give us some more Mario plus Rabbids stuff. Because that was a Ubisoft-led project.
That's so gimmicky, though. I heard it was
Surprisingly fun.
Surprisingly a decent game.
It
but
is
honestly-
baby's first real-time strategy.
Huh?
Or turn-based strategy. But it is still fun. If you play this game and then go into XCOM, you will have a better understanding of XCOM.
You know what? Screw a 3D Rayman game. Just make a 3D Rabbit game where it's not friggin'.
Where it's not gimmicky and just mini-games.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
that would be.
They take down the minions.
That's the Battle Royale game we need. Rabbids versus minions.
I wanted Nintendo. Buy
Rabbit would
those
win every
rights.
time, if
Hey,
only because
Supposedly,
the rights are
supposedly
reasonably
Nintendo is working with Illumination to make that Mario movie.
Illumination.
So we already have a
God.
We already have a
That
connection.
is the worst thing I could ever fucking hear, dude.
We already
All
have a
the songs
connection
are
if
gonna
that's
sound
true.
Like the minions.
Oh god, no.
They are the last. Okay, that's a discussion for
They
another
had a shit-
podcast is
You know how much money they made off that marketing campaign for Minions? They can outbid
They
Disney for Mario now.
shitty ass
The only
movies,
reason
though,
I saw
Sony.
Minions was for your mother.
Yep.
Aw.
My
I like
mother.
how dark that one was, though.
Yeah, I love the family in the car. I would have
Yeah.
rather
The
had
crime
a movie
family?
about the family in
exactly.
the fucking car.
Going to like a villain con, like that's such a great concept.
Yeah.
But
And
it's
they
like,
wasted
no.
it on
On
Minions.
Minions,
Yep.
yeah.
They wasted it on 1950s nostalgia references and
1970s,
Minions.
man.
70s, yes.
No, they're not the same.
The worst part is the Incredibles are happening at the same time, so imagine a crossover.
Oh, with the Minions.
Speaking
well,
of
he's
speaking of 1970s nostalgia,
Oh.
let's go talk about Square Enix and how we've
Okay.
basically been
Perfect.
waiting since the 70s for Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
100
that's
years.
basically. I remember the 70s when we had Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, but not 3.
And
You
Sora
weren't
wore
even
his
born
bell
yet,
bottom.
but
Been
we
4
remember.
decades since we've gotten a
We
Kingdom Hearts
weren't
sequel.
even born yet, but
Disco
we remember.
Mickey.
We remember
In,
the discotheque where they had Kingdom Hearts playing all the time.
Sora in the
That beautiful
Saturday Night
gospel
Fever DLC.
music.
Oh yes.
In reality, we've been waiting 13 years
Jesus Christ.
since the
man.
release of Kingdom Hearts 2 for Kingdom Hearts 3.
Well,
Man, this better be the best game
is
ever.
it- yeah, and
Shit.
you know what? It kind of looks like it's gonna be that.
Honestly,
They changed
Yeah.
the engine.
Well-
That already is an improvement.
And I'm really excited for combat. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, this combat looks super hard. I'm like, did you not play Chain of Memories, you fools?
The problem people have with the combat, from what I've seen, is there's too much going on.
Yeah, I could see that being.
And I can understand that. You have the new ride summons, you have actual summons, you have a new magic, you can carry 3 Keyblades at once. Each Keyblade can transform into 3 different things.
Meanwhile, I'm
not
like
like Zoro
I'm
with like one in his mouth.
Exactly.
Keyblade, and then my
I
mouth.
know
Can
one
you
piece
use
of
3
shit.
at once?
No, you can't use 3 at once. You can basically equip 3 keychains at once and switch between them.
Well, they need to get
I
like
am
a
getting
cloud
one
sword
piece of
where it's
shit.
like 9 keyblades in one.
Just like tape all these Keyblades together with duct
The
tape.
3, the 3 keys.
But in general,
The 3 blade.
all I want them to say
Blade
is confirming a release date for 2018.
It won't be at E3. They've already said it.
Yeah?
It won't be at E3.
What?
It'll be the month after.
3. Oh. Okay.
They've said multiple times that it'll be at E3.
Why are they waiting for the month?
From what I've
after?
heard, it won't actually be at E3. They're planning it for a month after.
Oh, you mean like the release date?
Yes.
Or, okay, because I know they said Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to have
No,
a presence
they're
at
gonna
E3.
Bring a presence, but they aren't going to confirm the exact date until
I thought
after.
you were saying they weren't bringing it at all for a
No.
second there.
Sorry for
That's
the
their presentation. Like, you want to see more? Wait a
You
month.
want to see more Kingdom Hearts? Well, that's
Get reamed!
that's basically what they did when they first announced the development or whatever.
For
Yeah.
sure.
The first time they officially unveiled it, after they officially unveiled it,
Oh, jeez.
they had unveiled
They
it
can
like
do that with these games.
they unveiled it in like
It's-
2012.
Why did they give him this much free reign to do this bullshit? Is beyond me.
They unveiled it in 2012. But the same
people
year,
will buy Kingdom
I
Hearts.
think 2014, they talked about Final Fantasy 15 and Kingdom Hearts 3 at the Sony conference, where one of the executives at Square, I think it actually was Tetsuya Nomura, got up on camera and was basically like, "Oh yeah, Final Fantasy 15 and Kingdom Hearts 3 still a thing, yay!" And then that was it. We didn't get any gameplay or anything. We were just told, "Keep an eye out later."
Fuck you!
Basically. So hopefully we get something. Like I want.
Another world or something. Yeah.
We know for sure we're getting Toy Story, Monsters Inc., Hercules, and Tangled.
I want more Wreck-It Roll information. I know he's just a summon, but I still want him.
Oh, yeah.
They actually did talk a little bit more about what he does.
Okay.
He places blocks down.
Yeah.
There's more. He plays.
I like
And he pets the block and then he walks away.
In reality, he
I
places
don't
blocks
reckon.
down that have different turret layouts. They can be
Jesus,
single turret, triple turret, like certain different things like that.
He's Torbjorn.
And then he crushes them, and they explode and fire.
He's Reinhardt mixed with Torbjorn.
Yes.
Shipping is confirmed.
In general, though, they have a lot to do with this game.
Yes.
If they don't wrap up the storyline with this game,
Oh,
Or at least
shit.
the
this
game
part-
that's supposed to finish the game,
This part of the story.
well, that's what I'm saying. They've said they're going to be more Kingdom Hearts games, maybe with a different storyline.
Oh,
But if Kingdom Hearts 3 doesn't wrap up this storyline,
They are fucked.
they are fucked. That is what everyone wants out of Kingdom Hearts 3.
And you guys
I
still
just
haven't
wanna-
played X Union. That shit is crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. They've spent the last 13 years trying to explain the overcomplicated plot while complicating it further.
I know it.
Yeah, they're good at
Like,
that.
they explain... It's lost.
Yeah.
They explain one thing,
Oh.
and they add 8 questions.
Yep.
Yeah, I think whatever ending we're gonna get at this point is just not gonna be satisfying.
Yeah.
All they
To be
need
honest.
to do is do the fucking final battle.
Seriously.
What, between
But
Sora?
All
They
the
have-
Soras and all the Xehanorts.
Exactly.
No, that's literally the story. Everyone is either Sora or they're Xehanort.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, that is so fucking
Are you a
crazy.
squid
They
or are you a
started-
kid?
Okay, so Sora is Sora, Roxas is Sora, Ventus is Sora, Shion is Sora.
Who's Goofy then? He's also...
Fuck Goofy.
Goofy is
Goofy
Goofy,
died, man. He died in the second game.
True, Goofy did die.
Goofy
too.
is Jesus. He came back to life.
Oh my
Yeah, he did
god.
die in the second game.
Except instead of 3 days, he waited 3 minutes.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm better than that Jesus.
Gosh, that
Gosh.
Jesus don't know how to
Oh,
do
how
it
to
right.
Gosh, Mick, you think Jesus could ever do anything this good? I don't know, Goofy. He doesn't have quite the same money we do. What do you think, Donald?
I hate my life. I hate my life.
So getting off of that.
Actually, I'm really excited for this game just because it's expansive universe. I was playing like the second one, and I didn't realize how just you don't really
Small.
small the environments are when they could
Not
have gotten
even-
so much further.
Not even just that the environments are small. Each of the worlds are more self-contained.
Yeah, the first one's really bad with that.
The first one they were
First
still.
and second. I just played through the second one. I was just like, oh
Yeah.
man, I didn't realize that this was so small. But then again,
Well-
from perspective shift.
Yeah. So
Well, yeah, that's
like,
true. From
you
the
were
second
much
one.
closer in the first game to the camera, and it made it a little bit more personal. In the second one, they drop out, and all you have to do is hit X now.
Yeah.
You don't even have to do anything else.
It looked more dynamic though.
It did look more dynamic because of the outward stretched camera.
Yeah.
I think what happened was another Sony game.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on which one?
I don't
Is
know.
it
God of War.
Ah.
Fuck yeah.
The first Kingdom Hearts came out. The original God of War came out shortly thereafter. The camera was dropped back a little bit, and you had these wild air combat things.
I think you're actually wrong on that.
Well, it came
Like,
out around the same time.
Yeah, because Kingdom Hearts 1 came out like 2002.
Yeah, and God of War 1
Two.
came out in like 2001, 2002.
No, it came out 2005, dude. That's like a...
Well, when Kingdom
End of
Hearts 2 came
Hey
out.
Siri,
Yeah, I know this.
when did God of War come out?
Well, it's going to just give you the new one.
I found two for you to choose from. God of War, 2017 movie, or God of War,
17 movie?
NBC show.
Neither of those are what I wanted.
Thank you,
Don't worry
Siri.
about it, Siri.
Artificial intelligence has failed me.
It's okay, Siri. We
You're
still don't
trying,
like you.
Siri. We love you anyway. Always be kind.
But
to
yeah, I
robots,
think,
folks.
I
Someday
mean,
they'll
sure they had
realize.
like a demo of God of War at that point, and they're like, oh,
Some,
this
the
is
base,
where adventure games are going. This is what
Yeah.
we need to...
it couldn't have come out in 2005.
I'm pretty sure it did.
No, because that was when the PS3 came out.
It was like, and like,
God
God
of
of
War
War
1
2
came
came
God of War
out, like-
2 came out around the end of the PS3 2 life
that
cycle.
can't, yeah, that was
God of War
2007,
1
though. I don't know why I know this. I'm pretty sure that's it.
Okay, whatever. Long story short,
Sorry.
Kingdom Hearts needs to fucking do shit.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Dude,
I
I
feel
think
like
we're
that's
excited no
everything
matter
we can
what,
all
though.
agree on.
Yeah.
The only other game Square Enix is supposedly going to bring, I think they
Final
said
Fantasy VII?
no.
Yeah, that's like
Walter's
10 years
right.
up.
2005.
I mean,
Um,
this is fucking bad.
Yes, it
Yeah,
matters.
good, Tony.
They just announced Hitman. They just officially announced Hitman 2, which no one cares about here.
Hitman 2?
Yep.
They rebooted that?
They rebooted it like 2 years ago.
If there isn't a
Oh.
ghost, then I don't.
They have a
want it.
new Hitman game that came out like 2 years ago in an episodic format, and it did okay.
That's it. Okay.
They're coming out with a sequel to that. I don't know if it's going to be episodic or not again. But the third in the rebooted Tomb Raider trilogy. Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
I'm more okay with that.
I like that it has a lot of parallels to Uncharted.
Yeah.
Especially since
Okay.
Uncharted started out as a ripoff of Tomb
It's
Raider.
really
Yeah.
weird.
It's
though.
weirdly
That-
circular, and I love
don't-
that.
I haven't played the Tomb Raider games, or the new ones, so...
They play a lot like Uncharted.
Okay.
Yeah, they're
But-
actually pretty decent. At least the first one. I haven't yet to play the second one.
Same.
I really want Tyrannosaurus Rexes.
Yeah.
I wish. I
Give me
wish
that weird
What I was
crazy
thinking, I'm
shit.
like, are
If
there
they make-
dinosaurs in it?
they couldn't really do it with this version of Lara Croft. They have pretty much sequestered her into the bow and arrow using
I know,
Nathan
right?
Drake
I follow them.
with boobs.
They're fucking awesome.
She
Yeah,
very much
I-
is like Nathan Drake in a lot of ways, only a little
I
bit more
don't-
serious
yeah. I
and more
don't-
reliant on survival gear.
Yeah, but there
Yeah.
is some sci-fi
There are
and
sci-fi elements,
mysticism elements.
but they really couldn't go this full T-Rex route like they did in the originals. They could
Okay.
try, might not work.
I think
That was great
they-
about
yeah.
the originals, though. Like,
Well, the original.
You could go batshit crazy.
Yeah.
One of the final enemies was a freaking succubus.
Yeah.
What
Really?
the hell?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think in one you literally just fought a stationary statue, and like you had to like shoot its eyes
Oh
or
my
something
God.
like that.
You're
Bring that
correct.
back.
Yeah, but
There
yeah,
was one
That's
where
fun.
it would turn you into gold.
yeah, that's right. The Midas touch
Yeah.
statue.
Yes.
Like, so they updated Lara Croft, which, yes, they should have done that. But they should have kept with that crazy.
Yeah, like that's
I
what
feel
we're saying.
like they should have kept the heart of it.
Shadow of the
Yeah.
Tomb Raider is probably going to be a good close to
Yeah.
this because they very
Okay.
much said they wanted to make a trilogy when they first were developing it. I want them to go back to campy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Like,
real.
give me Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Give me this wonderful swan song for this version of Lara Croft,
Okay.
and then give me Angelina Jolie.
Yes. I honestly love those movies because they have the crazy of the
They are
original
campy
Tomb
as all hell, but I love it.
Raider. Yes.
Did you guys see the new one?
I have not.
I have not,
Mostly
but
because
it
it is basically a redone version of the first game.
Yes.
in the
Okay.
new-
and surprisingly, I'm actually working on a series of how to make good video game movies, like a series of things for the channel.
Uh huh.
Ooh, nice.
And I found out that the second highest rated video game film of all time is the new Tomb Raider.
Wow. Well, there you go. I heard it was okay.
The number one is Rampage.
That doesn't mean
As
it's.
one
That is campy as all hell, which.
I'm pretty sure like 25% of the ratings were because of The Rock.
Yes, oh, right, absolutely. He had the
Oh,
ending
yeah,
for
for
that
sure.
movie change because he didn't like. He's like, if
It's
I'm gonna
The
make
Rock.
I know what a
Yeah,
bad video
completely
game looks
correct.
like. I was in one.
Yeah. I was in one recently too with Jumanji 2, Welcome to the Jungle.
Welcome to the jungle. We got fun games.
So that's all that's really confirmed for Square Enix.
I know which one I want to talk about.
Which one?
The World Ends With You.
Oh my god!
The remix of that one, yeah.
Yes.
They might have something at Nintendo's conference, like their because they'll have like a bunch of quick snapshots of games. They did it in a recent direct where they initially announced it, so they might just give like an updated thing on it or whatever.
Give me Show Minamoto!
I love
Give me my math nerd, trash boy!
artists too.
Yeah!
But also going off of that, there's that Octopath Traveler game, the one that's sort of like the original Final Fantasies. They might have that in a Nintendo Direct as well. So
Don't knock things down.
Square Enix might have a couple things during the Nintendo show.
Mhm.
But World Ends With You is definitely one of those two that I'm more excited for. If Jerry were here, he'd be screaming at us all about not supporting Octopath Traveler. If you are listening, Jerry, I am sorry. We are not excited for it.
Sorry, Jerry.
We might get more Final Fantasy 15 DLC info. Because they've said multiple times now that they're going to have DLC going into 2019.
That doesn't surprise me in the slightest.
Because that game is doing well. And you know what got it to release? Not having Tetsuya Nomura directing the game.
Honestly, true.
I understand why he stayed on with Kingdom Hearts as the director. Because he made it. But seriously, he almost brought down Final Fantasy 15. It got out of purgatory in terms of development hell after they switched to directors. And the new director basically said, 1.5 years. You don't deliver it then, we're never delivering it all.
Which I
Yeah.
can appreciate.
Yeah.
Yeah. They need to get better at that.
Tetsuya Nomura needs to. Because he's the one directing Kingdom Hearts 3, and has been for the last 18 years, and the Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Oh,
You seeing it?
Yeah, we're
You
not
seeing
gonna
a
see
pattern
that. We're
here?
not going to see that.
So we might get that. 2 other games that are kind of a surprise for me. Are you all familiar with Bulletstorm?
yes.
Yes.
I know that's.
People Can Fly is the studio that made that. They originally worked on Gears of War before going over to make Bulletstorm, and they're making a shooter now with Square Enix.
Oh.
We might see something on that. We might not. I don't know.
It'll be interesting either way.
Considering it was a very recent announcement, like within the last month, I doubt they have much of anything to show at this time. But the one that I'm more interested in, last year at E3, Square Enix showed off a trailer for an Avengers game.
Ooh.
Oh, shit. Okay, I'm excited about that, too. What's the...
No idea.
Okay.
All they
yeah.
showed was the stereotypical Marvel imagery of Cap shield, Thor's hammer, stuff like that.
Oh,
And
so
just said, we're making an Avengers game. That's all we know.
There's so much you can do with that.
So
I hope they make it more like the Spider-Man movies. Well, not
the
movies,
new
but
Spider-Man
games.
game, yeah.
That would be cool.
There was a first-person-ish Marvel
Yeah,
Marvel Ultimate Alliance style Avengers game that was
gonna be
being
a
developed a
tie-in
while
for the
back.
Movie, right?
Yeah, I kind of hope it's something like that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because that a cooperative first-person Marvel game where you're playing as the main Avengers during the Skrull saga or the Secret Invasion when the Skrulls took over some of the Earth's mightiest heroes and such.
Right. Just any aliens. Any aliens.
Aliens.
So long as they don't make a Thanos story, that's all I ask.
God, please no.
We are getting too much fucking Thanos these days. I understand why. Because of fucking Infinity War.
I love Thanos. I'm fine. Bring on all the Thanos. You can bring like freaking Hot Wheels has.
I
like,
just need
this-
a little less Thanos.
No.
There are so many other good villains in their pantheon.
Like
Thanos
Darkseid.
is basically the end game.
Yeah, he's the best.
So, give me someone else. Give me someone new.
They're both thick.
Ooh.
I want a Yondu game.
Not gonna
Yondu game, yeah. It's like
Make a VR Yondu game where you're whistling and using the arrow.
that would be pretty sweet.
Watch out, here comes my arrow. It flies super fast and kills everyone.
It's okay, Harris.
So yeah, that's basically all that we know Square Enix is working on. At least that's what I know with my limited knowledge of Square Enix. Any thoughts on any of that?
I'm excited for whatever that Marvel game is gonna be.
That Marvel game should be a lot of fun, hopefully. And most likely will be a third-person one.
At the
'Cause
very
that's what
least, I'm
most-
intrigued.
Yeah. I want to see what they have, at least. And considering they're doing a full press conference this year, like they did last year, they might show up with something. Hopefully.
So if they're not gonna do Thanos as the villain, who would you guys want?
I want the Secret Invasion. I want the Skrulls.
Yes.
Because there's so many possibilities with what they could do there.
True.
Or, barring that, if they were making an X-Men oriented game, I would want a House of M game.
I want Galactus.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Because that's one of...
Oh, they always bring out Galactus.
Yeah.
They always do. He's always going to be in a game, no matter what.
Like, Galactus was the character who was in everything before Thanos was in everything.
Yeah, yeah.
I just read the Squirrel Girl thing where she fights Galactus, and it was
He kicks his
amazing.
butt.
Yep. Galactus was...
No, she convinces him to go to a different planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's literally what it is.
Oh.
Galactus was basically the Samuel L. Jackson of the Marvel Universe for a while. He would show up in everything.
Well, I mean, he's also Nick Fury, too. Like, he was the inspiration for, like, the millennial, like, Avengers take. And they're like, oh, we'll just put you in the movie now.
Yep. But yeah, that's honestly the one I'm most excited to see in terms of what we don't know is coming. Kingdom Hearts 3, hands
We already
down.
know.
Give me
Yeah.
more.
Give it
Like-
to me.
I really want the Roland with You one, because a lot of times when they do these remasters, they add more content, and I want more content.
Yeah.
I can't believe she's real. Our girl's real.
The girl is real. Which girl?
God, fuck, I can't remember her name.
You have been drinking.
Rhyme?
No.
Who are we talking about?
She was originally suspected to be a background character, and then they actually proved that she is a
Good
genuine
old
character.
Try it. Try the mead. It puts hair on your chest.
It does. I should know.
It's good, right?
That is good. There you go. There's your
That's from
bottle
the
of
local
honey.
area, so.
So that is 4 press conferences down. Nintendo, Sony, Ubisoft, and Square Enix. Next up, we have the one that Emily has been waiting for very patiently.
Country roads, take me home to the place I belong.
No, we're not talking about the West Virginia press conference right now. We're talking Bethesda.
I'm so... Well,
So, before we get into Fallout 76, because I know that's going to take up most of the discussion,
Yes.
there are 3 things that I know they're going to do at the conference. Elder Scrolls Online update, which, okay, I'm surprised people still play it.
Yeah.
Elder Scrolls Legends update, which is the Elder Scrolls card game. Basically, her.
What the hell? Yeah,
Wow.
who cares about that?
And the
Get
one that
outta
I
here.
actually kind of want to talk a little bit about, since you're on a Mad Max kick right now,
Yes.
Rage 2.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Basically, Sunset Overdrive meets Mad Max.
Ooh, that
It
does sound
is
Sounds Mad
interesting.
Max.
super interesting.
Hyper color Mad Max game.
Well, and that's
The first Rage.
ultimately what got me the first time was because it's like it is hypercolor. They are taking that
The
step.
first
They're not
Rage-
making it dreary as
The
shit.
first
Oh.
Rage, though, was.
Yeah.
The
that
first
kinda
Rage
took
was
me
just a
off my-
straight up Mad Max knockoff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it came out around the same time as Brink, another Bethesda game that was more about parkour shooting.
Mhm.
Those two games basically just got combined.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
There's
it's more colorful.
they have some
definitely.
the trailer for this game is mostly just weird, wacky imagery and stuff like that with a hell of a lot of violence. So like
Okay.
that Lego Movie 2, the Lego Movie second part trailer that I showed you,
Yeah.
the parts where it's all weird and wacky fun, that's Rage 2.
It's super gay.
Okay.
I am queer.
That's how
That was queer.
I've never noticed.
Y'all are gay, just deal with it.
so good.
You're so gay. You probably think the song is
It's
about
about
you.
you.
Hashtag Pride Month. But yeah, Rage 2. Like, when they first announced, when Walmart first leaked that Rage 2 was going to be a thing, I was wondering why the fuck they were doing it. Because the
But
first
Steam-
Rage was terrible. Well,
Yeah.
it wasn't terrible. It was
It wasn't
serviceable.
terrible. It was just
A good
It was a
kind.
more Mad Max style Fallout game.
Yeah.
Without the charm of Fallout or Mad Max.
Mhm.
But they have Avalanche Studios, the guys that made the Mad Max video game for
Yeah.
2015.
Didn't that suck?
No,
No, it was actually pretty decent.
it was a pretty
Okay.
decent game.
and we got it for free recently.
Yeah.
because-
Nice.
Whoop, whoop.
PS4 free. But it was the guys that made that, and they also make the Just Cause series, so they know about weird, wacky fun. Which, actually, I think Square Enix owns the rights to Just Cause. Just Cause 4 was officially announced
Ayy.
because Steam leaked it on their site.
Of course.
You logged into Steam and you saw advertisements for pre-order Just Cause 4 now. So Steam dropped the ball on that one.
That's pretty funny.
But Rage 2 looks surprisingly fun. It looks like it's going to be a lot of weird, wacky, hypercolor fun. That Mad Max episode of Rick and Morty.
That was so funny.
That's what it's going to be.
I could have my husband be like, I'm gonna go off and kill somebody. Alright. I'm gonna go with you.
My question is there going to be much of a story? Because I don't remember anything about Rage 2's story. Or the first
I don't
Rages.
either, so I'm
Because it
hoping
was
that there's
just so
something.
generic.
Right.
It was just a generic game.
It was.
The simple fact that they changed the style for this one has me intrigued.
Yeah.
Who cares what the first one's story was? As long as it doesn't continue from there, then we're pretty decent.
Like, basically they're going to just give like a 2-minute time lapse of what happened in the first game.
They're like, ah,
Because
no,
we know you didn't play this here.
Yeah.
Well, it's basically what Bethesda did with Fallout 3. When they took over, no one had played the other ones that wanted to play Fallout 3.
Honestly, this is just reminding me that I just want more Borderlands 3 information.
Yeah.
2K is not one we're going to talk about because they don't have a press conference. They have said they're bringing a first-person shooter to E3,
What could it be?
not Borderlands 3 because they confirmed that.
It isn't Borderlands 3, but they are doing information updates on Borderlands 3,
Yep.
which I'm excited
They're doing
for.
info updates on that. They have a project called Project 1v1, which is a combination first-person shooter collectible card game, of all things.
Okay.
And they're probably going to bring like 2K, NBA 2K or whatever they've got.
Yes.
Wrestling and basketball, those are the two sports they have.
Oh, good. They
Um,
gotta combine the two.
but yeah, Rage 2 looks interesting. Fallout. We know nothing about this
I'm-
game.
I've
Just
already.
hoping
Well,
it's
it's
not a
just-
multiplayer online, please. For
Well, that's
the
the
love of
thing.
God.
The big rumor right now, it's gonna be Rust in Fallout,
I'm hoping no.
where you get dropped into the wasteland and you have to try and survive. It's not like a battle royale where you get dropped down from like a bus or a plane or whatever, but you get spawned in the world. have to craft and survive and build and do all that.
I think I'm okay with something really open-ended like that. I just want my fucking privacy while I'm doing it. I don't want some fucking scrub to just hop in and be like, hey, 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 bang, 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 taking your shit, bye, bye, bye. I don't want that.
Like I told you before, though, with Rust you can do private servers. So if that is a case
If
where it's
that's
multiplayer,
the case, then just you and me
They
private
have-
server all the time.
they will have to do private servers if they want to do this right. I don't think that's what they're going to go for. I hope not, at least. Because if
I'm
they
praying
do,
to God they don't. Like,
because that's basically the early access equivalent of a battle
This is
royale
a-
game these days.
this is because of us like changing the Todd Howard wiki.
Here's your revenge. And yet I've still promised Todd Howard all my dollars.
The Todd Howard, in case you don't know, the Todd Howard wiki had a specific block on it from Wikipedia that you could not edit it until a very specific date.
Which everyone
The
marked.
second that date was...
What?
Because so many people had edited it to no end
Okay.
before. The
Todd
second
Howard,
that date
is
was
he
up,
related to Ron Howard?
Todd Howard's the head of Bethesda.
Okay.
And
The
he's
head game
basically a
designer.
meme at this point,
Yeah.
honestly.
Okay.
The second the day was up that people could edit on it, holy hell.
We're paying for our sins.
This if they make this a Fallout Rust game,
We deserve it.
we deserve it. But I want
That
it
is
to be
one
more like a
penny
New
drugs,
Vegas.
Honestly, same.
I want it to be a sort of a side story to the Fallout franchise.
Well, and I feel like if
Especially-
it was a more hardcore survival, that would still fit in with.
Especially given the backstory of Fallout 76.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
very,
exactly.
very short after the bomb dropped.
25 to 30 years after the bombs drop is when this vault
Like,
was
this is
supposed to open.
basically prequel to all of the rest of the.
This is the earliest set game in the franchise.
Okay.
And if they go with a Rust-style thing, it better be more focused on cooperation.
Yes.
Honestly, I'm thinking a lot Frost, which was the a heavily modded version of Fallout 4 you could play that was very similar, I guess. It was supposed to be very recent after the bombs fell. It was essentially very survivor heavy. You don't get a whole lot of supplies. It's very difficult to find them.
You
Replays
have
it.
to
She could
eat, you have to sleep, you have to drink. It's basically live your
Survival.
life as if you had just walked out of the vault 25 years after the bombs dropped.
Mm-hmm. And it can get pretty intense.
Yeah.
Scavenge and survive.
Jeez.
You get killed with 2 bullets.
Yeah.
That intense. Like, if they were to try and do something like that with the mainline Fallout game, I'm for it.
Yeah. But that's putting,
Sounds
I
pretty
feel like, too
hardcore.
much faith in Bethesda.
Plus, a lot
Oh,
of...
we're gonna get a glitchy as hell game, that's for sure. But
I can't wait for the glitches. I love Bethesda glitches
Yes.
to no end.
is it a
And-
glitch or a feature?
Both.
Yes.
Both
It
is
just
good.
works. But
Let
here's-
me shoot someone into space, please.
Here's my thing.
Let me Final Pam this shit.
So my thing is, I have a lot of Fallout characters that I have made, and if this is super open-ended, I can play as if I am playing as, like, Denise from our tabletop game, or Nyx, this school character I made. I can play as these characters. I can't really do that with, like, the other Fallout games, because they have a very fixed plot.
Yes.
My only issue is, can I romance people in this fucking game?
Well, if you're doing an online multiplayer, I mean, you can romance other people.
You and I are gonna romance the super mutant.
Yes!
Assuming there are super mutants.
True, this is actually a set
Because
at the
this
same
is
time.
before super mutants,
Right.
essentially.
We're gonna romance a ghoul.
That's a given.
They'll be like minimal ghoul at that point.
Minimum
but-
ghoul.
I don't know. It seems like people kind of ghoul up pretty quickly, judging
Yeah,
from
especially
Megaton
if it's
3.
after 25 years. Look at Hancock.
Yeah. Yeah, in general, I hope they do something that's not Rust.
Yes.
Right.
They have confirmed that there will be a story that you can go on, and that some, if not all, of the building stuff from Fallout 4 will return. So that will make you happy for sure.
I love
Your
settlement
settlement
building.
is like-
Emily spent
She is ridiculous when it comes to that, too.
Emily
My
spent
stuff's great.
Emily spent
Oh,
450
I never said
hours.
it wasn't great. You're just ridiculous when it comes to that.
Emily spent 450 hours in the Xbox 360 version, or Xbox One version of Fallout 4. About 400 of that was just building settlements.
You know what?
And that was
They're great.
before. That was before mods.
Yeah, my settlements were great, so I think you're all just jelly of how amazing my settlements are. Just saying.
The most.
In general, though, this is probably going to be the big linchpin of their entire conference. Similar to how their first conference, they spent half of it on Fallout 4, and then it dropped the bombshell that was coming out later that year. I feel like they're going to do something similar with Fallout 76.
Mm-hmm.
If not that, then some other big surprise title.
Well, they did say this isn't Fallout 5.
Right.
So.
Well, yeah, it's Fallout 76.
Well, I mean, there's still going to be a Fallout 5, from what I understand.
Potentially.
And this is almost more like, I don't say a filler, because that's probably a bit insulting to the game, but...
Well, I mean,
you could call it...
New
It's
Vegas
kind of, yeah, like how New Vegas was.
Yeah.
Offshoot.
The only reason that some people are thinking that it might be more like a Rust type thing is the rumor has it that this was originally part of a originally planned multiplayer expansion for Fallout 4. And they just kind of said, you know what, this is good on its own, let's make it its own thing. So that's what has some people thinking that it's, you know, Rust.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, that seems pretty in terms of a description.
Honestly, all of this is speculation.
Yeah.
Like, the others, the
Because
guy...
all we have at this point is a trailer shot, or trailer shots of the inside of a vault. We're not even going outside of the vault in the trailer.
And the 4chan guy who was correct about the title of the game, and I think a couple other things, like when it was set.
Very specifically related to the vault itself, not necessarily the stuff in the trailer.
So that does add a lot of validity to the other things that he said, like the fact that it would be involving multiplayer and etc. etc.
Having multiplayer is not a problem. Making it so you don't have to be in multiplayer, that's going to be something they need to do. Because even some of the hardcore multiplayer only games do have some modes where it's like limited. There's very few games out there that are strictly multiplayer now. Like Overwatch is one of them, but you can still just fight against AI. You don't have to play with other people.
Personally, I'm not a huge fan of multiplayer, but I do have some friends who I could possibly, you know, reconnect with through the magic that is Fallout.
Yeah.
There you go.
Be like, okay, we haven't talked in a few years, but let's go save that settlement. And then I'll pretend to be Preston Garvey and be like, another settlement needs our help.
I was waiting for it.
Preston Garvey is perfect. And I make fun of him out of love. And I will defend him with my life. The Wasteland does not deserve Preston Garvey. He just wants to make it a better place. One person at a time. That's fucking beautiful, okay?
Alright. So anything else in terms of those 3 or 4 things for Bethesda? I mean, basically, the only ones we care about are Rage 2 and Fallout 76. And it's mostly Fallout 76. Because I got a couple of things that are speculation that are really just sort of like, this would be kind of cool. But
I think I pretty well covered my hype. Because a lot of it is either how open-ended it'll be or how interesting it'll be to explore the new story. And it's hard to talk about those two different things when they're kind of conflicting.
yeah.
Yeah.
So anything that you want to add, Jim, towards Rage 2 or Fallout 76 before we move on to predictions?
Not particularly outside of stuff that's already been
Discussed.
speculated
Yeah.
over.
No, like, wild, blasted theories on what you would want
You
out
play
of
as
the
a
game?
Deathclaw.
Bethesda stole the assets from Kinect Star Wars.
Oh, God.
And the Rancor rampaging scene is now with a Deathclaw.
Okay, at least let me have a Deathclaw mount.
You get Nick, you get Valentine, you get Preston Garvey, you get Hancock, you get all of them in the dancing sequences.
I'm riding solo. I'm riding solo. I'm riding solo. The only thing I can think is for Brotherhood of Steel. Hey, brother. Like, that's the only song that immediately comes to mind playing on the words from Fallout.
Yeah.
Crawl out to the fallout, baby, to my loving arms.
Help out that settlement, baby.
I hope they do have more on the radio stations.
Yes, same.
We'll see what happens with that. In general, we just need to see the game.
For sure.
I mean, the teaser they did it similar to what they did with Fallout 4 when they announced that. They showed it a couple weeks before E3, gave a very brief teaser, and then showed us half of their conference with Fallout 4.
Yeah.
So I feel like they're going to do something similar with Fallout 76, but since they have Rage 2 in there as well...
Yeah, Rage 2.
It might be sequestered into, like, 2 separate parts, where it's like, instead of one half of the conference being Fallout 76, it might be one half is announcements of other things, like projects in development, ESO updates, things like that, and then the last half is split between Rage 2 and Fallout 76. Like, that makes sense to me. Especially considering some of the predictions I have that they might do.
Okay.
Let's hear those predictions, too.
Well, first and foremost, Bethesda is kind of notorious in terms of their place in the industry right now, because they have 3 mystery unknown projects that they have not talked about in the slightest, outside of saying, we have 3 projects in the works, trust us, not one of them is not Elder Scrolls 6, and we might talk about them soon.
Well, if one of them's not, then the other 2 can be.
New franchise.
That's what it is. They say they're working on new IPs. So hopefully we'll get a glimpse of at least one of those at E3 this year. There's like some Stardust one or something like that. I don't remember the name of it.
Skyrim in space.
That's sort of the joke of it all. Like, they think that there's going to be a space one. Basically, Bethesda...
You know what that means?
Basically...
Games in space.
Basically, the common joke... The common joke I've seen... Mass Effect made by Bethesda.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
Todd Howard, no!
No!
Come on, Todd.
Toddy,
bro.
what?
If we clip through a spaceship, we'll die.
I would suck your dick if this was not happening.
Yeah, you've
That's
been
a
drinking.
deal, Todd.
You having a good time, Jimmy?
I am.
So we'll probably see more...
This chair.
I'll
I don't
catch you.
regret it.
We'll probably see more...
It's all good. I
Of
probably
that.
deserve it at this point.
No.
Jim,
Think-
you want snuggle? In a place where you won't fall off?
I'm good.
I would not be surprised if they do another Fallout Shelter type thing.
I
A
can,
new mobile title, specifically.
I can see that.
They have enough franchises that they could have fun with it.
Yeah.
There could be a mobile tie-in for Rage 2, for the Elder Scrolls series, for The Evil Within.
Please.
I'm just imagining like a Hearthstone-style horror game with cards based on The Evil Within.
You know what? I would still take it. I love the evil within it. No shame.
Hell, they could honestly just straight up make a new update for Fallout Shelter related to 76.
Yeah.
Considering they might add some things related to the game. I already mentioned the ESO and all of that stuff. The one that I'm kind of pushing for, a Doom sequel. The Doom game that came out in 2016, hell of a lot of fun.
Okay.
And I would not be surprised if they have something in the works. Maybe even like just DLC or follow-up or something, but I want more of that.
You want something.
I want more Doom.
Something.
Maybe that's what Fallout 76 is. They open the...
Doom.
That
would be so
They,
That would be awesome.
they open the vault door and it's just a portal to Mars where demons have invaded.
The tie-ins. That's why we get the aliens and Fallout.
Well, a lot of people jokingly think that Skyrim is like a far future for the Fallout franchise.
Probably.
So maybe that's how it happens. Fallout 76 opens, they go to Mars
The
and
Death
come
Pods
back.
evolve into dragons. It would make so much more
Yeah.
sense.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And we just have Void Mammoths because people love them.
Yeah, that's basically what I got for Bethesda. Like, the big thing that they're going to talk about is Rage 2 and Fallout 76. They could honestly spend their entire conference talking about those two and be fine.
Like, Tony, Rage is a word, or a game series that I completely forgot about right after they announced it. Because no one talked about it. But, like, if they have all the things you're talking about in this game, like, it's definitely going to be worth checking.
Yeah, a lot like Fallout 76, though, we don't know anything about it. They have just that 1 or 2 CG trailers. I think they showed a little bit of gameplay, and it was, like, bombastic and fun. So there's that. I watched original Rage gameplay. It was literally just some dude circle strafing with a rocket launcher for long enough to whittle down his health. There was no
so
panache,
stupid.
no fun
Yeah.
in it. It was just technical.
Wasn't it trying to be like the new Doom? Wasn't that?
It was more
kind
trying to be like Mad Max.
Okay. Well, like Doom mixed with Mad Max?
No.
No.
Just Mad Max.
Yeah. It did not work out.
No. It was straight up just desert palette Fallout.
Yeah, it's like with the Mad Max world, like there's a lot of charm to it. If you don't know how to do that, your world's gonna be really dull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, with that, we go on to the one press conference. I have no fucking clue what they're gonna do. Microsoft.
Cuphead.
There is literally
Cuphead 2!
there is literally one game I know is gonna be at that conference, and that is Forza Horizon 4.
Oh, forget
The
it. They
car
always bring out
game.
their Forza. You know what? Forza's great. I've never played it, but I heard it's a great series. But
It's a fantastic simulator. And the Horizon series,
simulator?
well,
Well, it's supposed to be a
Forza
racing game,
Motorsport is basically showing you the performance and power of the cars.
but- Okay.
Forza Horizon is a spin-off series where you're playing with these powerful cars,
Okay.
doing
So
stupid
that's the fun
stunts and
stuff.
going and stuff like that. Like the most recent one, you were basically going all across the Australian outback just having fun with these exotic cars.
That sounds like a
Exotic
terrible idea.
cars.
Have you ever been to the Australian outback?
Yeah,
I have
those
not,
rattles-
but I've heard that is a bad idea.
Apparently the rumor with Forza Horizon 4, Japan.
That's an even worse idea.
Driving all of these fantastic exotic Lamborghinis and stuff like that throughout
Sounds
Japan.
like fun.
Like in Tokyo and out in the country and stuff like that.
If
That's
you're
all I
just
know.
driving, then that's less of a bad idea. But if you're doing insane stunts while in the middle of Tokyo, that is a bad idea.
It'll be some fun stunt stuff too. But yeah, that's literally all I know is coming to the show for sure.
Jesus.
They just confirmed that Crackdown 3 is going to be delayed to 2019.
Okay.
So they might like reiterate on that point.
Right.
But that's it. That's all I know is coming.
No Halo
What the
6.
hell, Xbox, are you doing?
Exactly. What are they doing?
Either you've got some insane shit under wraps.
Well, I've got
Or-
ideas. I've got thoughts about like what's going to be shown at their thing, including update for Sea of Thieves, because they just came out with
You're
the
still open.
they just came out with the Hungering Deep.
For real. They need to do more with
They
that.
just came out with the Hungering Deep, and it adds like you know, do you guys see James and the Giant Peach?
Yes,
Yes.
I love that movie.
You remember the shark?
Yes.
Yeah.
The
They,
Mel-
they basically added one of those, only it's a real shark.
I
Megalodon?
still love that.
Yeah,
Oh, they just had bigger.
they added that and one or two extra little fun things to the game.
They just need to add more to that
Yeah,
game.
there's
like,
just it's an empty sandbox. They just need to put
stuff.
anything.
Yeah.
They need to put toys in their sandbox.
If you're
Yes.
interested in some of my ideas on that, we actually have a video for that.
Oh my.
So you can check that out if you want. But the other thing that they're going to for sure do in terms of updates is Minecraft. Microsoft paid $3.5 billion to own Minecraft. They're going to talk about Minecraft.
What can you say about Minecraft?
That it's getting another update that will make it so you can actually play with the Switch again. That's it. Because Sony's not backing down.
Mm-hmm.
Sony is very firm in their stance of we do not want the Xbox people in our community.
That's so.
It really is. But if you look back at history, when the PS3 was suffering versus the 360,
Yeah.
the roles were reversed.
Yeah.
It is entirely a corporate battle. The difference being back
It's a
then,
big measuring contest.
the
Let's be
difference
real
being
here.
though,
Yeah.
back then it was more about corporate people making the decisions. Now you have people like Phil Spencer in charge at Xbox, and he openly has said he wants to have everyone play together. He was okay with the Fortnite when Fortnite accidentally leaked it so you could play with Xbox and PS4.
Yeah,
He's okay with Rocket League doing it. He's okay with Minecraft. He has openly said, let everyone play together. Don't make the consoles separate if you can help it. Still have your exclusives.
Yeah, exactly.
But if friends
But
want to
don't
play,
be petty.
don't be
Yeah.
petty and let friends play together.
For real, like all my other friends have a freaking PS4. They make fun of me for having Xbox all the time, but I'm not gonna get a fucking PS4. There's no reason to.
There are
An
plenty of
Xbox.
reasons to, but maybe not for you.
The interface, man. It's better on it.
In terms of like recent leaks and rumors and stuff like that from Microsoft, Sunset Overdrive, not a sequel. Insomniac has sadly said they are fully ready to make a sequel,
But
no one's willing to fund it. Hopefully Spider-Man will change that and we get a PS4 exclusive Sunset Overdrive 2 just to shove it to Microsoft. But a Korean's rating board made a rating for a PC version of Sunset Overdrive. And I am all for more people playing this game.
Oh, yeah.
Sunset Overdrive is one of my
all I
favorite
know is
games.
I literally have
Never
drunk all
noticed.
the meat now.
You poop up my nose.
Yep. Sunset Overdrive is probably one of the best games I've played outside of Psychonauts.
Yeah.
It in general, more people should play this game. If you have an Xbox One and you have not played it, play
Please play it.
it. Please.
With Sunset Overdrive, I did not like that game. It like, yes, like, they're trying to do too many different things.
Are you
What?
saying you don't like Trouble?
I love Trouble.
Trouble's our
It's too
daughter.
much trouble. It was nothing but trouble.
Trouble's
love
the
her.
character we made in our playthrough of the game. Which we will hopefully have the finale of that up soon. We had some...
Kinda sucks.
Trouble is amazing.
I'm
She
not
is
sa-
a lesbian, and she has a girlfriend who LARPs.
See, that's awesome.
That is
That's
awesome.
what the game
Is the
should be.
girlfriend me?
No. Well, you're basically Wendy. She starts out as a blacksmith for the Fargarthians and then becomes their bard using heavy metal. And then becomes a pirate.
Wendy and Trouble are in a loving-hate relationship. She loves her girlfriend, but she also hates her girlfriend.
And then, yeah, like, I have no
Isn't
clue.
that a normal relationship?
Yeah.
I have no clue what Microsoft is going to do.
They're the
might-
wild card.
We might get Gears of War 5
Yes.
because
Okay.
Walmart
At
leaked
this
a bunch
point.
of... Because Walmart
gives
leaked
a
a bunch of
shit?
things, and Gears of War 5 was one of them. We might get, like, a first look at a new Halo game. Halo 6
again,
or whatever.
That's so
Push
sad,
off,
but like,
as
just don't
Lucio
even.
would say.
Who knows?
Okay.
Who knows? Maybe they'll actually try and do some tie-in with that Dave and Buster's Halo game coming out.
What the?
I kid you not. They are coming out with a 4-person shooter game at Dave and Buster's based in the Halo universe.
Not
I mean-
drunk enough for this.
You know, I'm gonna say that sounds like fun. That's where the Halo franchise should go at this point. It's like, because people remember it as this fun multiplayer thing. It's like, at this point, just leave it at that.
Well, yeah,
That's
after,
fair. That's
yeah.
fair.
especially after Halo 5 basically
That
nixed,
was
they nixed local
garbage.
multiplayer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they make a
That
Halo
was
6,
such bullshit.
if they make a Halo 6, there has to be local multiplayer.
Mhm.
If they don't do that, no one's going to buy it after Halo 5. Halo 5 is probably one of the worst performing ones in the series, I think.
It's because it was T-rated, man.
It's because you spent most of the campaign
Campaign.
most of the campaign playing as Locke instead of Master Chief.
I mean, at a certain point, you gotta have a different freaking character.
When the
Well,
box
okay.
art for the game shows Master Chief and Locke at the same height,
See,
when
that
all
would
of
be
the advertisements say you will play as both of them, and you play 75% of the game as this
Locke.
brand new character,
Yeah.
and only have essentially walking sim missions for Master Chief,
God. Yeah.
that's
I watched
basically...
Jacob play it. It looks pretty.
It looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
But it's still bullshit as far as gameplay is
Okay.
concerned.
My problem I had was Locke was not an engaging character. One of his squad mates, played by Nathan Fillion,
Oh, that's good.
he was a good character.
You know
Make
what? They
him.
just need the red versus blue cast
Yes.
in an actual Halo
Yeah.
game.
And
And
Rooster,
Dave and Buster's. They
and
play
Rooster-
Halo with you.
and Rooster Teeth does work directly with Microsoft when they make a lot of the red versus blue stuff because
Yeah.
they need some assets and they need some stuff like that.
That's
So
funny.
it wouldn't surprise me if we get red versus blue the video game at some point.
Let's do it.
I'm surprised we
Yeah,
haven't
Halo, you're dead. Just
Just hand it over
embrace
to
the
Red.
campiness. Embrace the goofiness
Exactly.
at that point.
But in terms of other games,
We'll
like
remember you, Hank.
honestly, most of the other predictions I have are from other studios. Like that's how much I don't know what Microsoft is going to do. Like they showed off
Yeah.
Metro Exodus last year at the Microsoft conference. The guys at Remedy who made Alan Wake and Quantum Break.
Alan
Um,
Wake? Are you fucking kidding
They have a
me?
new project called Project 7, or codenamed, that they might show off.
Give me Alan Wake.
But that's literally it. I have no fucking clue what they're gonna do.
Do it. Do it.
Do it. They announced another Killer Instinct.
They
Another
might.
Cuphead.
They haven't done much with Killer Instinct in the last while.
I think, yeah, they completed that first one, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And while
Like,
they
at this
might...
point, they had the freaking Battletoad in there. I don't know who else they could add at this point.
Conquer.
Yes,
Give
yeah.
him the chainsaw and everything.
Yes. That would be great.
And while we're probably not going to get Cuphead 2, they did mention DLC for Cuphead.
What?
Okay.
When they were initially talking up the game before it came out, they said that they have plans to do DLC if the game does well. Clearly, the game has done well.
Everyone loves that game.
So I would not be surprised if we at least get like
that game.
we might get a glimpse of
Not
it.
love, just pure love.
Yeah.
Like,
We might get like a glimpse of it or something. We might even get a full-fledged announcement of some Cuphead DLC,
please.
which I would love. We still have to fucking play more of it.
We just haven't had the time, man.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real here. We've both been busy with our own shit.
Right. So, yeah, we'll get back into Cuphead soon. But yeah,
Don't worry about that
that's
game.
literally all I
Too
can think.
Nah, bro. We'll finish it.
The one,
Finish it.
I'm gonna finish it too.
the one thing that Microsoft really needs to do, get games.
Get creative.
Not even just get creative. Get games.
Get Gang Beast.
They
Friggin' boy.
need exclusives.
Yes.
You know what the two exclusives for this year are? They already came out. Sea of Thieves and State of Decay 2.
Oh.
Yikes.
Oh, that's really sad.
That's
Sea of Thieves.
it. As far as I know, other than Forza Horizon 4, which might come out this year, that's all they got for 2018.
I mean, that's all they pull out, man. When they're like, we got nothing else.
Like,
There's
some
another
people thought
Forza game.
Crackdown 3. But they just
Yeah.
confirmed that's not coming until next year. Maybe. It's the third time it got delayed, and it was supposed to originally come out in 2017.
Does
Ugh.
anyone care about Crackdown? At this
You'd be
point?
surprised. There's enough people
Yeah.
interested in it, mainly because Terry Crews showed up for the ad last year. It was literally
That
just
helps.
it was literally
Terry
just
Crews
that
makes
will-
everything better.
it was literally
Yeah.
just him dressed in the Crackdown like armor for the police characters,
Uh-huh.
shouting at the camera with snippets of gameplay they had already shown.
That's how you advertise the game, man.
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
But yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. I would absolutely love for them to go on stage and just announce Conker's Bad Fur Day 2. We're not going to
That
get
would be beautiful, but
it. We're not going to get it. Especially after Project Spark failed.
yeah.
It needs to happen, though, because as
That would-
wonderful as Bad Fur Day is, that gameplay is horribly
It is not aged.
outdated.
It is
It's
not
like-
aged well.
It's aged the worst. It's
The
like,
remake they did didn't do much better with it.
it looks pretty.
It looks prettier.
Yeah,
But that's about it. What was that? Conquer Live and Reloaded.
yeah.
That's what it was. But
Not only that, but they bleeped out the Great Mighty Pooh, and what the fuck, man.
but with
Yeah.
Rare working on Sea of Thieves, I doubt we're gonna get anything like that.
Yeah.
There was a rumor of them maybe working on a Perfect Dark sequel, or reboot, or what have you.
Yeah.
But that was always just a GoldenEye 64 ripoff.
I was like, yeah,
anyway.
reboot GoldenEye.
Might
yeah.
as well, shit.
Yeah.
I think some other studio has the rights to that because they came out with that remastered
Doesn't,
one
yeah,
on PS3
Sony,
and 360.
I think.
It wasn't Sony because it came out on 360 as well. I think it was just some independent company.
Well, Sony owns James Bond.
Yeah,
Oh,
but they can
yeah.
license out the product to other companies and for the game rights, whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
In general, I want Microsoft to surprise me because they have to pull
Are
out.
you not entertained?
They have to pull out something.
Put Cuphead and Killer Instinct.
Yeah, like everyone surprised me.
Like last year, their entire conference was based around the Xbox One X
Yeah.
and how powerful the console is and how much more they're gonna have with it and everything like that.
Sure, Jan.
Hey man, it has Project Scorpio. Right
Project
now.
X or the
Project
Xbox
Scorpio.
One X, it's a good console, but they based their entire conference around it and didn't show off enough new stuff. They showed off 44 games, a lot of which were remakes or indie games. Some of them were like brand new titles coming, like the Metro Exodus I mentioned
Yeah.
before, but they need something.
They should. Yeah.
Crackdown
bring out more
3?
indie games.
Crackdown 3 was supposed to launch with the Xbox One X. Clearly it didn't.
Ooh.
You gotta have something to sell the system, guys.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
They're gonna release the Xbox 720, dude. It's gonna happen.
At this point, I think we're gonna get the Xbox 2 before we get the 720.
It's too sad.
It does 2 things!
Play games and make you spend money.
It never
Speaking
turns off.
Speaking
It's
of that,
always playing.
EA is the final company to talk about.
Oh man.
Play games and spend money.
Okay,
They
what,
better have my
what
money.
franchises do they have?
The 3 that I know the 3 things I know for sure we're getting from EA: Anthem, Battlefield 5,
Ugh.
and sports games.
Yikes.
Okay.
We're not going to talk about sports
That's the end of the podcast.
Anthem is the one that I have hope for. Anthem is the one by BioWare.
Okay.
It's basically their Destiny. The game Destiny, not like their final, like...
This
No,
is
I
your
mean,
destiny.
yeah.
Final countdown.
You are my density.
They're fucking nasty.
All we know about the game is you play as mech pilots. Sort of like exosuit Iron Man style pilots. Who go out beyond the wall of like a last haven for humanity on an alien world to discover new and fantastical things. It's a space. It's a space game. It's a space game.
With Titans.
The environments that you can go into are massive and expansive to the point where in the trailer you see them flying through the air, drop underwater, continue going, and then come back up and start fighting.
So are they in giant mechs or is it
It's
an Iron Man size?
Slightly more human size.
Okay.
Slightly larger than human.
They're
That
huge.
does- yeah.
It could
That
be
does sound
interesting.
fun. Yeah.
We don't know
That
enough
doesn't
about
sound
it,
bad.
so there's that. But what they showed off, what they showed off of that made me realize why Mass Effect Andromeda failed as much as it did in the animation department. Because a lot of people probably went over from Andromeda and said, "Hey, this looks better. Let's work on that."
Probably.
Because Andromeda was terrible. The entire premise of the game was very much the first game.
Okay.
The problem was the first mission of Mass Effect, the first one, took 15 minutes. That exact same arc in the Mass Effect Andromeda, 4 hours.
Yikes.
It was a lot of padding, a lot of exposition, and not enough fun. So I'm hoping Anthem is kind of the antithesis of that.
Well, you got mech suits. You're doing one thing.
It
So
looks
there's
like...
gonna be some fun if there's mech suits.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be Destiny in a lot of ways. Of online experience where you can play with friends, go in, go out, whatever. It's just going to be a lot more open than Destiny, and I think it's trying to be what Destiny originally was trying to do. An open experience that you can drop in and drop out with friends in sci-fi planets where you have new and fantastic things to consistently discover.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Really ambitious. But
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
Well, so was Destiny.
Yeah.
And look what happened with that. It's still played a lot by a lot of people, but a lot of people had problems with it. Anthem's got to go up against that stigma, and that's, I think, its biggest hurdle right now. Trying not to be Destiny.
I'm trying to have a little bit of faith in it, just because.
So am I. Oh, believe me, I want this game to be good.
Yeah.
I
good
really
concept.
do. And everything I've seen of the game, I like it. It looks like it'll be fun.
But
We'll just have to wait and see.
yeah.
There's always a but.
Yes.
There were a couple butts in the trailer.
Nice.
I can't tell what you said, Jimmy. It's right. You smell how butts
It's
are good.
beautiful.
The other game we know for sure coming is Battlefield 5.
Ugh.
Yeah. Don't
Set,
Tell me how you really
don't
feel.
care.
set in
Yeah.
World War II. The trailer had a woman. It's controversial. Whatever. That's literally the problem people have with the trailer.
Are you
It's-
fucking
Women
kidding
weren't
me?
invented yet.
It's the Force.
That's right.
It is the Force
That was
Awakens
so
trailer
much action, dude.
all over again. Only instead of a black stormtrooper, it's a disabled woman.
God, go fuck yourselves,
Yeah,
man.
she has one of those claw disabled arms
Yeah.
in the
Seriously,
trailer.
accept her.
Because she was a woman in the trailer, people hated.
But of course, it's not because we're misogynist or anything.
Nope.
It's never that.
Nope.
Or ableist, for that matter.
Nope.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, Madden and FIFA and other sports games.
Yeah, man.
EA I'm trying to think what else they
Ten
have.
hot.
This is gonna be the one. This is the big one.
Fuck, what else does EA make?
Games.
This is one that we get Super Bowl commercials inside
Yes.
the game.
You have to escape the Super Bowl commercials. Run away from the Doritos.
The Clydesdale horses try and trample you.
I would play that Madden game.
That freaking
Give me
demon
that
horse
surrealist
from
football
Denver shows.
experience.
I will give them the benefit of the doubt when it comes to Madden and FIFA. Specifically
Really?
Madden. Specifically Madden. Because with Madden, they've at least tried to introduce a story to it.
Yeah,
You play as
I
a,
would argue that.
you play as a rookie coming up through the ranks, like you start in high school and you get to better and better, and like slight
Yeah.
changes can happen depending on how you perform in the games.
Okay,
Like
but
that alone is kind of a neat idea.
That is a neat idea.
But when most of the time the game is just update the rosters, make it look slightly prettier, maybe
Yeah.
add a couple more blades of grass or whatever, it's not worth it. Like, why do people consistently play $60 every single year for it?
It's for the
I
sports
say
guys.
as I do that with a lot of games that are not Madden.
I know a guy who has a PS4 just for freaking Madden.
Mhm.
Sports go sports. Woo!
Put
My-
it in the thing.
My thought on the games. I have played
Little
them.
thing, man.
My thought on the
Damn
games.
thing.
I have played the Madden games. They're fun. If you like it, give me NFL Blitz.
I was just gonna say, fuck Madden.
Give
Give us
me-
NFL Blitz
Give me the
instead.
crazy, over-the-top NFL Blitz game
That's fun.
with the
yeah.
Madden 2019 graphics.
There you go.
Yes, absolutely.
Give me chaos.
I have
Absolutely.
not played either of them, so I have no idea.
NFL Blitz is the fun fucking version of Madden where you can like throw the ball and then just fire comes out of it. You can just go
all right,
around
all right.
It was-
I know what you're
people.
talking about now.
On the
Yeah.
64, yeah. The closest thing we've gotten to it recently is
Sorry if
something
I was
called
shouting.
Blood Bowl.
No, it's all good.
The most recent thing we've gotten to is called Blood Bowl.
I think
It's
I played
basically humans versus orcs
Yeah,
playing
yeah.
football, and they kill each other.
Oh, I
I
love
love
that.
Yeah.
It plays terribly.
Aw,
Yeah, I'm like,
bless.
it does look terrible, but it's a good.
Like, if they were to have it in the
That
Madden
is
style,
beautiful in concept, but not
Yes.
necessarily in practice.
that is the most
Yeah.
wacky in terms of a sports game that I've seen in a recent history.
Oh, okay.
Give me that
other
only
than
hockey.
Rocket,
I could play it.
other than Rocket League. Rocket League
Yeah.
is probably the wackiest sports game we've had in a while. But
They need
they
to
might
make
talk about
more.
NHL. They do have that. They'll most likely spend a decent portion talking about FIFA and Madden because they always do.
Do they have the WWE?
That's 2K.
Okay. They need to make more wacky.
They need to
Um,
make some over-the-top WWE games.
Yeah, like back in the day.
Yeah.
on 64.
Please.
Back before it was
Celebrity
2K.
Deathmatch.
Yes!
Oh,
That's not-
Look
God!
at me!
Did you guys ever? Jacob had 2 copies of Celebrity Deathmatch
The
for
game?
Xbox,
Nice.
and it fucking took 20 minutes. One match to end.
Yep.
And they used the same 3 sound effects. So I'm
Yep.
like, this is hell.
The Celebrity Deathmatch game was basically the Simpsons wrestling game, just slightly better with claymation.
God.
A
Death Battle
shoddy-
is just a glorified celebrity deathmatch.
Yeah.
I lost
Um,
interest in them a long time ago.
That's all I know is coming from EA. Those 3 things: sports games, Battlefield 5, and Anthem.
So what we really need is a celebrity deathmatch.
Yeah, reboot. Come on,
Um,
Netflix. Get on that.
But in terms of predictions, they came out with this year A Way Out.
We still need to play that.
It's basically it's an indie game through and through
Yeah, it looks
where it is consistently split screen.
nice butt chaps.
I was gonna play Greaser, dude. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna
It
play
is
him.
constantly split screen
Oh, okay.
And you
where
play it with another person. So.
where you can do it online and you
Two-player
still
co-op.
see each other's screens all the time. It is a co-op survival prison break game from the guys that made Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons.
Yes.
The one where you control each brother with each of the 2 sticks.
Gotcha.
Fun experience, right? I want more of that.
Okay, this
I
guy
want
reminds
more-
me of the main villain from Gargoyles.
Oh,
Oh,
what's his
Xantos.
face?
Yes!
Xantos,
You know
yeah. Let me see. Let's see. A little bit, yeah. No, it is the face. Yeah, it is
Yeah,
the
it's the
face.
And a
face.
ponytail.
Yeah.
Oh, he has a ponytail. Yeah. I honestly,
No, he doesn't.
this is crazy.
Oh,
story.
I guess
I
I
honestly
put that
thought
there.
the bad guy in Gargoyles, for some reason, I thought he was voiced by Jeff Goldblum. I thought he looked like Jeff Goldblum.
He did look
Like-
like Jeff Goldblum.
So
He
that can
really
make sense.
did it.
Um,
Or sound like him, but I thought it was Jeff Goldblum.
But I want
Okay, but now I
I
just want like a live action Gargoyles where
It's
Jeff
Jeff
Goldblum.
Goldblum. This is my last picture.
Are you kidding me?
no.
I feel like he would really be down for that kind of characterization.
That would
Jeff
be good.
Goldblum is actually going to be in the new Jurassic Park game.
Yeah,
I'm okay
They're
with
coming
that.
out with essentially Jurassic Park Tycoon,
I'm gonna play the shit.
the
out
guys
of
that
it, dude.
made-
I
Yeah,
got that
same.
shit pre-ordered already.
and he basically is the tutorial character narrator.
Yeah.
Only it's as Ian McDonald or
Ian
Malcolm.
Malcolm,
Ian
man.
Malcolm. Yep.
Come on.
And it's based like the way he described it is Ian Malcolm can't stop this, so he's going to be there to monitor it.
I feel like that's appropriate.
And
for
he's a
Ian
little
Malcolm,
he's a
though.
little begrudging in terms of things like if you do try and do something a little too dangerous, he'd be like, I don't know if you want to do that.
Yeah, like the intro, I listened to a little bit. He's like, "Here we are, yet again."
Yeah.
I mean,
So I like that idea of it.
just kind of like how cynical it is. It's like, yeah, we're kind of sick. Of
I want
Jurassic
someone
Park at this
to
point.
yell at me like not to do a thing, and I just do the thing
It's like,
anyway.
Yeah.
No.
The only other thing I can really see EA doing outside of like some big independent game like thing like A Way Out or something like that, talk about a new Star Wars project
Please, for
that
the love of
is
God.
not Battlefront related.
Give us a
Also-
solo game.
The problem I have
Wanna
with
play
trying to
as
think
the-
of that,
as the robot.
they had a
Give me a great game.
they had sort of a tech demo up last year of a game that I think it was Remedy Entertainment was working on. No,
Was it the Boba Fett game?
the guys that made Dead Space.
Okay.
They were working on a project. The one you're thinking of is Star Wars 1313.
Right.
And that got canceled when Disney bought Star Wars. Which is a
Well,
shame, because I wanted that. But, this one
Disney,
was...
why?
Regardless of what it was, the studio got shut down. And this Uncharted-style adventure game for Star Wars that would have had a whole new characters is no longer a thing. They need to do something with this license. Since they got the rights to make it, 2 games have come out, and they have both been
shitty.
excessively divisive. The
Yep.
first Battlefront, because it didn't have enough stuff. It was sequestered to one era, it had very minimal content, and it felt lacking. And everyone
For
knows what
better
happened
words.
with Battlefront 2.
Yep.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Loot boxes! Which actually, I have a note here. One of the things they're going to do in their press conference is we're going to see a distinct lack of loot boxes.
No shit, Sherlock.
They've already said, like, the marketing campaign for Battlefield 5, one of the key selling points is essentially no loot boxes
No shit, Sherlock.
outside of cosmetic stuff.
Have you guys seen Solo?
No, you're
I
right.
yet, no.
want to see Solo because I've heard it's actually decent.
Depending
Never
on who you
mind,
talk
what I
to.
was gonna say was gonna be a spoiler.
Depending on who you talk to.
It's a fun little adventure movie.
I've heard that Lando's the best character.
You know what? He really tries hard to do that Billy
Billy D. Williams.
like accent
Yeah.
where it's like it kind of takes you out of the movie. It's
That's
like
what I've
you're
heard,
trying
like-
too hard.
While he's a
But-
good character and you can see him as Lando, he tries too hard to be the character. But the guy who plays Han, you just see Han Solo. You don't see him trying to be
just
Harrison
see him.
Ford. That's what I've heard, at least.
Well, that's always a good thing though, because
Yeah.
I was kind of worried about that originally.
Yeah, like they need
Um,
an acting coach to come for that
Oh,
guy.
actually,
for
there
the
is
movie.
another thing that EA does for Star Wars. The Old Republic MMO.
Please give us an Old Republic game.
If they won't, because the MMO. Because they have the MMO going on, that is the Old Republic game.
Ah. Ah.
Wasn't there like a Darth
Ah.
Maul third-person action game like
That was
no,
being worked
what?
on that got canned, yeah.
Ah shit.
Yeah, there are a ton of Star Wars projects that were in the works that got
That guy.
destroyed, essentially, that got canceled.
Damn
EA could
shame.
honestly take any one of those, make a half decent quick port or a quick make of it, get it out. They need to make Star Wars games.
Yep.
You have one of the biggest licenses in history.
And you ain't doing jack shit with.
Exactly. They could.
There's a little. I don't know. It's like too much.
I never thought I would say this. I would be okay with movie tie-in games. That is how much I want a new Star Wars game that is not Battlefront or the Old Republic.
Or Lego Star.
Lego Star Wars is different. That's the Lego company.
Phantom Menace from Darth Maul's perspective, and when you beat the game.
You know what? Just in general, like whatever Darth Maul is doing after Phantom Menace, because that is some interesting shit.
The game that Walter mentioned.
Go see Clone Wars, please.
And
for
Rebels.
The love of God, I need to talk with someone about that.
I've seen parts of that, and you're talking
the second
CG
season gets
one.
better than the first season.
The first season you can skip entirely.
Isn't it just the movie they made?
No, there's a general.
They made a movie called Clone Wars, and then they had an entire series.
I know that. I thought maybe the movie was just like the first season.
No.
No.
The Clone Wars movie is separate from the show.
I got really excited when that movie came out and never saw it.
I have it if you want to borrow it at some point.
This is kind of fun.
It is, actually. You get some fisto action, and I'm just like, yeah!
The Darth Maul game you were talking about.
Bring it back, EA.
Well,
Please.
yeah. But that
Darth Maul was the best thing about the prequels.
That game was all about It was all about exploring the dark side. You would be Darth Maul, specifically a clone of Darth Maul, set like 800 years in the future.
What?
And the Sith are super interesting in general. Like, if you actually go into the history of this shit, it's like, holy
But yeah, it was.
I would love if they had some Plagueis shit in there, but they never will.
In general, Star Wars is being wasted.
It is.
On the movie side of things, it's too much. There's the Star Wars fatigue going on. And while I love getting a new Star Wars film every year, Rogue One, completely unnecessary.
Yeah, that was a garbage movie. So is Solo, though.
Everything I've heard basically makes me think that if they had turned Solo and Rogue One into 2 separate episodes of like a Netflix anthology series,
this would have been so much better.
Make them an hour long instead of the stretching it to 2.5 hours or whatever they did.
Now, when Disney bought Star Wars, did Marvel, did Avengers come out at that point? Like the first Avengers movie?
When they bought Marvel? Yeah.
Or no, when Disney bought Star Wars.
Oh.
They had Marvel for a few years at that point, at least.
But had Avengers come out before then?
Yes.
Okay, so they're probably like, what other series can we make this expanded universe? And they're like, well, let's go for Star Wars.
But yeah, in general, EA, Anthem, make it look cool or make it good. Give me a new Star Wars game. No loot boxes.
I'm just going to throw this out there. They own the rights to Harry Potter, right?
That's Warner Brothers.
But EA made the old Harry Potter games.
Warner Brothers has it now.
Oh, okay.
No.
They should.
And the only thing that Warner Brothers has done with the Harry Potter games recently is that new mobile title. It's a more story-based one that basically you have like an energy system that's really stupid. Okay. And then
that's what I've heard, yeah.
And then they're coming out with a Pokemon Go style Harry Potter game sometime early, like this year or next year. So.
Okay, you can say what you want. I still play Pokemon Go.
Oh, it's fine. I'm not gonna judge you for that.
If only because they've actually added a shit ton to it from what it originally.
I just got an Alolan Exeggutor.
Yeah.
Nice. My tall tree boy. But yeah, that's basically the main conferences. I'm not talking about the PC conference because that one is just.
Oh, look at this new gaming PC.
It's not even just that. There's a lot of different people who show up and talk about their games on PC and all this other things. It's basically just the dumping ground for other games that couldn't make it into the other main conferences. They show off a lot of cool stuff. They show off a lot of gameplay that you don't get at the main conferences. But it is mostly just a PC spec show. There are a couple titles that I wasn't sure where they would be in like the thing itself. Like I didn't know which conference they would show. One of the ones that was a little bit of a surprise to see is a new Sonic racing game. Team Sonic Racing.
You know what that means? Tails Doll's coming back.
Woo!
That one could honestly show up
Knights as well.
at Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo.
Are they still in cars?
Yes.
Okay, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
They might as well be board racing
If
again.
they're running, Sonic wins every time.
Well, that and it would just look, I guess, silly. Like, they tried doing that way back in
Yeah,
the
that's
day.
where the Tails Doll's from.
Yeah.
That thing
Yeah.
was cursed. I love it.
Yep.
I want one.
We know Fortnite's going to be at the show.
Okay.
Specifically Battle Royale. They're going to have this big tournament with celebrities and
Don't figure it.
popular streamers and whatever.
I mean, that's
But there was also the recent leak that it might be coming to the Switch.
I'd
just
be okay
makes
with that.
sense, Yeah.
So whether or not it's the actual Fortnite game or the Battle Royale mode or both or whatever, we'll find out. Black Ops 4. I mean, that's just for the Call of Duty fans.
Yeah.
That will most likely
If you
show
look
up at...
that like logo they have for that, it's really hard to tell that it's a fucking 4.
It's
they
just
do, like 4 slashes.
Literally
instead,
all
like,
it is. All it is the 3
ID.
logo with an extra thing.
Yeah, I'm like,
That's
wait,
all
what
it
the
is.
hell? It's
You
the
look at them
Like
side
that?
by side. If you're even a little blurred in your vision, you
bad
can't
graphic
tell.
design, kids. Don't do that.
The only reason I can think they went with the 4 ticks instead of like an actual 4 or whatever is so when Black Ops 5 inevitably comes out, slash across it.
Well, that'll be cool. They're like, okay, that'll be cool.
They gotta
I don't
get
know
they gotta
if
get
it's
through with the
cool.
stupid one so they can get to the
Yeah.
cool one essentially.
4th one.
And then this
That's
last
just-
one, I don't know if any of you guys are aware of it. Did y'all play The Witcher 3?
I did not.
I'm aware of
I
its existence.
really want to play that because I heard that game is amazing.
Okay,
It was
because the company CG Project Red is coming out with a game called Cyberpunk 2077. Literally, all we have is a CG trailer of a buxom cyborg lady getting shot at by police, surrounded by bloody corpses that her weird knife scythe blades from her arms made.
Okay,
kids
that's
are
hot
gonna love
though.
And it's just like a hyper slow motion trailer of like bullets like crashing against her skin and stuff. It looks beautiful, but it's just a CG trailer
fucking CG
that they
trailer
showed
for
off
shit.
3 years ago.
Yikes.
Oh.
CD Projekt Red is supposed to be coming with a RPG. I think that's likely the one they'll be showing. Because now that The Witcher 3 is done, they got to show what they're doing next.
Right.
Yeah.
And they've been getting funding. They've been adding new people to their staff. They've been doing all sorts of shit just to
Do you mean to move my legs?
No, I'm just trying to find a charger.
just to get this game going.
Plug your...
So I'm eager to see what they're
I
doing.
don't have a cord.
I don't know what they're gonna do.
Not a
I
short
want to
one.
see. So yeah, that's pretty much all that I have.
It's short, but it'll East charge.
Does WB have their own press conference?
They do not. If they would most likely just spend most of it talking about some of their properties that might turn into games. Like they had that Mad Max game that came out. They would talk about the Lego games because they're the ones that have the distributing rights to that. They
Yeah,
could potentially talk about another Middle-earth Shadow of whatever game.
Mm-hmm.
They have Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, and Lego, essentially. Those are the 3 big ones they have.
And they got Mortal Kombat. And
They do. I didn't even think of that.
Mortal Kombat, what's it? Freaking, I think it's 11.
Yeah.
It's supposed to,
They
it's
might.
going to be
I
announced.
completely forgot that they were doing that because there was rumors that we would actually get more on, or we'd get a new Mortal Kombat trailer.
Yeah. Ed Boon, the guy who makes Mortal Kombat and Injustice, he's been consistent. Like every 2 years, it's either Injustice or Mortal Kombat. So about this time,
Yeah.
another Mortal Kombat's coming out.
And I'd be fine with that. Like Mortal Kombat X was fun.
It was a lot of fun. I think with this one, this is the end of a trilogy because Mortal Kombat X kind of showed that Raiden's going to be the bad guy. Or
Yeah.
that there really is no hero at the end of Mortal Kombat X because you have Luke Cage and Kitana ruling hell, and then
Luke Cage.
Luke Cage. Isn't that his name? No, Luke Kang.
Luke Kang.
Yes.
Luke Cage is the Marvel character.
Luke Cage is in there too.
As Jax, yeah. I completely forgot about Mortal Kombat. Jesus.
Dude, it's fucking coming out, man.
Yeah.
That and Soul Calibur 6.
Yep, that one's gonna have something showing at the show. Like, you're a fighting game expert. Any other games in that genre?
Well, with Mortal Kombat, like, the last few games, they've had these gimmicks. Like, the first one, you had tag team. And the second one is, like, the 3 different fight styles. And, like, you and me discussed, like, I kind of wish they would just take that out.
I would argue that the gimmick for the first one wasn't, like, tag team fighting, so much as it was the X-ray moves.
Well, that was in the second one still. That was...
Well, yeah, I'm saying, like, that carried over, but I think
Yeah.
that the tag team thing wasn't really so much the fighting, because that wasn't a main feature. That was just an option.
Yeah. And I guess with the 3 different styles, that's more present.
Yeah, that's, like, the main feature, so... If we get X-ray and the 3 different fight styles transfer over to this new one, that would make sense to me. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, X-ray is definitely gonna be in it.
That's basically Mortal Kombat now.
Yeah, it's their super moves. But I kind of hope they bring back tag team and actually flesh it out where it's actually tag team and not just tapping one person in and out.
Boop, boop.
Boop, boop, boop. Okay, so other than Mortal Kombat, can you guys think of anything else that might show up at the show we haven't discussed?
Soul Calibur 6.
Soul Calibur 6, but that's for Soul Calibur fans.
PlayStation All-Stars.
One can hope.
God, I hope so. Like I said, I'm going to talk to you more about that later. Yeah.
It probably won't happen, but we can hope that it would happen.
Yeah.
A Parappa the Rapper remake.
That I know won't happen, but once
yeah,
again, one can hope would happen. If only because Parappa the Rapper, man.
Yeah. So,
Katamari Damacy.
Yes.
Oh, another Katamari game.
Yeah, just all those trippy games.
Yeah.
Just release a compilation of, like, the weirder games that they have. Call it the Acid Trip compilation.
Yes.
Yes.
Add Earthbound into the mix.
Alright, so...
Nintendo exclusive.
I guess that's it. Like, we talked about pretty much all of it.
Folks.
Talking about pretty much all that we could. Yeah.
There's not gonna be a new Mario game. What the heck, dude? There's always a new Mario game.
They'll talk about something Mario. Most
It's
likely
called
Smash.
Smash.
Yes, most likely Smash Bros. Related. But
That's not Mario. That's
we
Smash.
are officially at 3 hours.
Smash.
If
So
he's smashing everyone else up.
Oh, he always does.
we've officially been talking
Smash.
about this for 3 hours, guys.
Now let's just take a little bit more of your time to talk about
Yes, IHOB. They released a teaser trailer saying they're changing the P to a B. And they're going
what
to announce
does this mean, people? You can
the
speculate all you
International
want.
House
Of
of...
Lucifer.
Of Lucifer?
The devil horse from Denver's airport.
I was thinking Biden, like, but that's even better.
He's still big. People love their Biden.
I'm going with International House of Breakfast for a cereal answer. Yes, a
That's
serious answer.
nonsense.
Is that a
It's clearly
breakfast
gonna
pun?
be
That was not an intentional one.
International House of Bees.
Bees? With a question mark.
Bees.
Not
This is
the
how we
bees!
save the bees, people. We have houses of
The
bees.
International
all
House
over.
of Becky's.
Honestly, I would go to an international bee house. It's like huge. There's all these different honeycombs. That'd be
Honestly,
cool.
same.
That'd be cool.
Come on, IHOB, whatever the fuck you are now. Get those bees.
Apparently, a lot of people think it's the
Save the
International House of
bees.
Bacon. That's a hot theory going around. International House of Boobs. They're becoming a strip club.
Hey, I accept it.
No
The
longer
next
reserved
wish.
for Amsterdam.
That's
All right.
ending it on. I know.
International House of Barking. They have dogs now.
Barking
Honestly,
bacon
though, if you just,
and
like-
bees.
International House of Booths where you could just sit in and pet dogs. And there would just
International House of Bofa.
both of these
No.
dogs.
International House of Boba Fett. Everyone gets a Boba Head.
They were bought out by Disney.
I gotta use the restroom. I'll be back.
All right,
Disney
I
owns
think
everything,
that's.
people.
I think
They'll own
that's
you
actually
soon, too.
I think that's gonna do it for our live stream. Thank you all for watching or listening in or whatever you want to call this. Let us know what you thought, because we might do more of this stuff in the future. We're planning on doing a semi-regular podcast series like this. Not necessarily talking about E3, because we can't really do that year-round. But, hopefully soon we'll just have fun chilling out with y'all and talking about random stuff. So, yeah.
Yay!
Thank you all for watching. It's been a wonderful time having fun talking with my friends.
Woo!
And we will hopefully see y'all in another video soon. Check out some of the other videos we talked about in here if you want. And y'all have a...
Watch the Cuphead videos. They're hilarious.
And enjoy your
Those are my
E3.
favorite.
Thanks for watching.
Bye!
Bye-bye.